What's going on, everybody? Welcome in. Welcome to the Prophecy Misfits Podcast. This is episode 341. 342. I got to turn the page, make sure I'm on the right page. 342, United States of Islam. So yeah, it's gonna be a interesting one tonight, to say the least. I've got some stuff. I'll just say that. But yes, we're back. We had a big issue on Saturday with my internet just not showing up. It just decided not to show up. I won't bore you with all the details, but yeah, it just wasn't gonna work. Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get my internet back until about 3 a.m. That day, so I wasn't going to make you guys wait until 3 a.m. to do it. So, but welcome in. This is what we do on Tuesdays and Saturdays when I do have internet. And I'm just all discombobulated. But yeah, we get together and we watch for the crazy things happening in the world right now. There's a lot of crazy stuff happening out there. It's insane, to say the least. It's insane in the membrane. It's getting worse. Darkness is definitely overtaking this world, but that should be expected for those of us who watch and watch prophecy and read the Bible, and we pay attention to what's going on. It shouldn't be surprising to us. Unfortunately, what comes along with that is a lot of deception and a lot of things that people either don't know or just downright reject, and hopefully we can cover some of those things here. So. But yeah, so if you're new in, that's what we do. Welcome in. The focus is always Jesus, of course, and glad to have you here. But if you're, a regular and stuff like that, you know the drill. Yeah, you know where to find the snacks and all that type of stuff. But yeah, it's going to be a good time. This is, of course, like I said, the United States of Islam, episode 342. We're going to be going over a lot. Patrick, don't panic when you see the tabs. We're going to be going over a lot of things to cover. Did a little bit more of a deep dive on something that I was expecting to do. I mentioned that I was working on stuff regarding the Adelson family. We're going to be going over that. I didn't really want to cover this subject because I didn't think it was really worth it. But because of all the stuff going on, I think I'll go ahead and throw my hat in the ring. We're going to cover the Mamdani thing. Not the political side of thing, but we're going to show the deceptive side of things on that. We also got some updates when it comes to Snap and the tariff stuff, the government shutdown. Is it opening soon? Maybe not. We don't know. That's happening right now. Some updates on war stuff, Venezuela, Syria, and a whole bunch of other things. So we got a lot of crazy things we're going to go over. I'm going to try my best to, get through everything, hammer through some of this stuff so we're not here forever. So yeah, crazy times. Anyways, glad to have you guys here. And yeah, it looks like everybody's here. I apologize about Saturday. It's just, I don't like it when that stuff happens. We're literally trying to get it to work and it wasn't working, and everybody just had to go home. Yeah, he just took your ball and went home. But I'm sorry about that. So glad we're back. Glad everything is good. I was debating, honestly, the night before if I was actually going to do a show or not on Saturday. Dealing with stuff. I won't get into details. Dealing with stuff, and so I just wasn't sure if I was going to do it. And I guess when the internet went out, the Lord basically said nope, and said you're not going to do it. So I just went with that. So the Lord works in mysterious ways, right? All right, so we're going to go ahead and get into housekeeping.
Housekeeping?
I think you're sleeping.
Housekeeping?
All right, usual spiel. If you guys can, like, share, subscribe, get this out to as many people as you can. It's not about views, it's not about butts and seats, but it is about getting the warning out to people and getting people to Jesus. That's why we do this. That is the whole point. And with how the algorithm works and all that weird technological jazz, liking, sharing, and subscribing does help reach people. And again, we're trying to reach people who have questions, who are trying to understand what's going on. We're trying to reach people who question the narrative and they want to actually see what's going on behind the deceptive curtains of the theater, the display, the theater that's on display. And ultimately, we want to point people to Jesus. So if you guys can do me a solid and like, share, subscribe, that would certainly help with that. Also, make sure you guys follow me Rumble and Telegram. Those are my backup channels. If I get booted off YouTube, we'll be backup live streaming over on Rumble. So make sure you guys go ahead and follow over there. Certainly appreciate that. And then Telegram, I post updates, announcements, and other little things that I can't necessarily put in video format. So yeah, if you guys want to stay up to date, just in case you get kicked off YouTube or something like that, make sure you guys head over to Rumble and Telegram, follow there. If you don't like those places, I completely understand. Just make sure you bookmark the WretchedWatchmen.com website. It's your one-stop shop for everything. You'll find the latest podcasts, live streams, announcements, video series. The free book is there to download, and anything else that you want to know what's going on with Wretched Watchmen, you'll find there. So just go ahead and make sure you bookmark the website. And then last but not least, if you guys would like to support this channel and what I got going on, I got donation links down below. CashApp, Venmo, and GiveSendGo. This channel is not monetized. I don't make anything from ads, views, or anything like that. It runs solely off of your guys' generous donations. Yes, you guys are the ones that make this run. You guys are the ones that enable everything that I do to be 100% free, and I believe that it should be. I believe everything regarding scripture and the gospel and witnessing to people and sharing information about what's going on with prophecy and everything like that should all be free. Imagine that. Could you imagine if Jesus was walking around with his disciples and they set up a tent with a toll booth at the front of it? I don't think so. But you guys are the ones that make it all work, and I'm able to do this. So the Lord blesses me through you guys, and I thank you guys, and I'm so thankful to the Lord as well. So thank you guys for your support and your blessings and your prayers. You guys, again, are the rock stars. Christ, of course, is the superstar, but you're the rock star that makes this happen. So thank you. All right. I didn't write it down in my note. I'm glad I remembered, though. I just want to make sure that you guys are aware of on Fridays, I do the Wretched Recap video. And I don't want to, I want to make sure that people aren't confused about that, what that is. The Wretched Recap video is not like a clip video type of thing. So you're not going to get something on repeat. It's something that I cover quickly. It was supposed to be about 10 minutes of video, but now it's 20 minutes of video. I just can't shut up. You guys know me. But yeah, I cover about 5 topics a week, and I just go over them to make sure everybody's aware. So if you don't know about the Wretched Recap, those are every Friday that I put those out. So make sure you're not passing it up because you think it's something new. I'm not recapping what I've talked about. I'm recapping stuff over the week. That's where that comes from. So just want to make sure I put that out there so everybody's aware. If you're not watching those, you're missing out on unique stuff. So yeah, that's that. All right. So since we missed Saturday and I pretty much already did all the stuff on it, we are going to have a unusual, if I can find the button, wretched weather report. So let's go ahead and do that.
Everybody got their fancy hats? Let's go!
All right, so yeah, we're going to do a wretched weather report on Tuesday. I think it's worth going over because there's a couple of locations due to weather stuff that need prayer. And that's mainly, it's kind of what it's evolved to, which I'm cool with, is utilizing the wretched weather report to find places for prayer. So, all right, so we're going to go ahead and cover this. We keep track of the trends of what's going on with earthquakes and volcanoes that are happening around the world. Just keeping an eye on what's going on. Again, I'm not a geologist or meteorologist or any of that stuff, but it's worth keeping track so we know the ups and the downs and all that type of stuff. And so this past week with earthquakes, 5.5 magnitude and up, we had a 5.5, let's see here, 5.5 in Mabinay, Philippines. There was a 6.3, I forgot to take the asterisk away, but there's a 6.3 in Kulum, Afghanistan, 5.8 and a 6.1 in Petropavlovsk, Kamchatsky, Russia. They got hit by a large one with a whole bunch of aftershocks following. Again, that's the one that got hit with that 8 sucker a month or two ago. And there was a 5.5 in Copiapó, Chile, and then a 6.0 and a 5.5 Petropavlovsk, Kamchatsky, Russia, 5.9 in Mezero Village, Guam, 6.0 in Petropavlovsk, Kamchatsky, Russia again, 5.9. There's a whole bunch of other smaller earthquakes in that Russian area as well. So it's not just those large ones. There's a whole bunch of smaller aftershocks as well. Then there's 5.9 in Gorontalo, Indonesia, 5.7 in Severokursk, Russia, 5.7 in South Sandwich Islands, 5.6 in Santa Rosalia, Mexico. Then there's a 5.6 in Levuka, Fiji, 5.5 in Port Blair, India. And then the big one, which is a 6.8 with a 6.4 and a 6.0 and a ton of other aftershocks surrounding it, was Yamada, Japan, and that one came with a tsunami warning that was on the verge of actually becoming a tsunami. Usually they put out those warnings as, just warnings, just preparation. This was a case of they were actually expecting one because there was waves coming, but it died down beforehand, so they lifted the warning. So that was a large one over in Japan. And then over on the volcano side of things, we have 43 active eruptions happening around the world right now, which is up 3. We're still 1 down from the global average. We've been sitting below the global average here for about a month and a half. We got 8 in North America, which is +1 from last week, 5 in South America, 1 in Europe, 2 in Antarctica, 3 in Africa, 17 in Asia, which is +1 from last week, and 7 in Oceania, which is +1 from last week. So that's what we got with the earthquakes and the volcanoes. Getting into some other stuff. I gotta try and close this. Got so many tabs open there. So we have this as well. This is kind of one of the main reasons why I wanted to do one on Tuesday. I didn't want to pass this up. Powerful Brazil tornado kills 6, injures over 700, and it destroyed pretty much everything. This is over in Brazil, of course. It says the twister flipped cars and wrecked buildings in Rio Bonito do Iguacu, a town of 14,000 people. It says the tornado killed at least 6 people and injured more than 700 as it destroyed most of a town in southern Brazil, authorities said on Saturday. Twister on Friday evening flipped cars like toys and wrecked buildings in the Brazil town of 14,000 people in Parana State, the local weather service reported. Storm only lasted minutes, but it hit with hail and ferocious winds, swirling up to 155 miles per hour. You guys can kind of see what's going on here. It just ripped through everything like it was a set of Legos. That's how powerful these things are. I've got a video here that you guys can check out of what's going on. Roadways wrecked, buildings wrecked, houses wrecked. This is going to take years to fix this. Look at this thing. It just decimated Brazil. So please keep Brazil in prayer as they go through cleanup, as they start sorting through stuff. I'm sure that they're probably going to find some more bodies along the way, which could take a long time, unfortunately, because of the amount of damage going on. So yeah, please be praying for those in Brazil. I wanted to cover that. I also want to cover this as well. Typhoon Fenghuang lashes Philippines, leaving 8 dead and 1.4 million displaced. It's now moved on from the Philippines and it's in Taiwan, and it's doing damage in Taiwan right now, just flooding everything. It says Typhoon Fenghuang blew out the northwestern Philippines on Monday after setting off floods and landslides, knocking out power to entire provinces, killing at least 8 people and displacing more than 1.4 million others. The typhoon was forecast to head northwest toward Taiwan. It's already there. Fenghuang lashed the northern Philippines while the country was still dealing with the devastation wrought last week by Typhoon Kalamegi, which left at least 224 people dead in the central provinces on November 4th before pummeling Vietnam, where at least 5 were killed. We covered that one as well. They just got hit with that super typhoon, and now they're getting hit with this one as well. They're just getting slammed over there. Fenghuang slammed ashore in northeastern Aurora province on Sunday night as a super typhoon with sustained winds of up to 185 or 115 miles per hour and gusts to up to 143 miles per hour. The 1,100 mile wide storm weakened as it raked through mountainous northern provinces and agricultural plains overnight before blowing away from the province of La Union into the South China Sea, according to state forecasters. Yeah, do they have anything? No, they don't. I have this, though. This is a video that was taken in the Philippines while the typhoon was hitting. I want you guys to take a look at what they were dealing with over there. You can just see the waves coming over the rooftops of the houses. And these aren't single-story houses. These are 2-story, 3-story homes. And you can see the wind that's going through there. It's ripped off parts of rooftops. People have sandbags on their roof to try and keep the roof on because of the winds. You can see the flooding in the street, the waves coming up over the rooftops. And so that's what they were dealing with in the Philippines, and that's what Taiwan is currently getting hit by right now. So please be praying for the Philippines. They just cannot catch a break. Also be praying for Taiwan as they're currently getting hit with this typhoon right now as well. I don't have a article to put up, but Saudi Arabia is getting slammed with flooding right now. Extreme flooding. It's carrying cars away and stuff like that. So Saudi Arabia is also dealing with massive damaging floods over there as well. So those are just a couple. Again, like I said, the flooding has just been insane this year for so many places out there. But I did want to talk about the tornado in Brazil, the typhoon and whatnot. So please keep all those places and people in prayer, and hopefully through the trauma, through the tragedy, people will come to receive salvation through the Lord. Again, I know I mention it every time, but it's important that the Lord does work through traumatic events, and he gets a lot of work done through those. So pray for those as well. Okay, so that's what we got with that emergency, unusual Tuesday wretched weather report, whatever you want to call it. So all right, we're going to go ahead and move on. Again, we got a lot of stuff to cover. We're going to try and just hammer through some of this stuff, and then we'll just go from there. So hang on. So wanted to give an update on this. Basically, it says the judge rules Trump administration failed to meet legal requirements for deploying troops in Portland. So we've been covering this for quite a while now, specifically with this legal issue with the troops in Portland, because Judge Immergut, issued a stop in Portland because they were going to deploy the National Guard because they were not invited by both the governor and the mayor. You can't issue federal reserves into the federal military reserves into a region that they're not invited, but they were going to do it anyways, declaring it a national security issue by basically taking National Guard from other states that weren't blocked by Judge Immergut, and then the judge issued a block on all National Guard from entering the state. Trump administration appealed that. It went to a different, the lower court, which they issued that they could deploy National Guard. Then the judge basically put I don't remember what it's called. It's one of those fancy, like Latin or French words. I don't know what it's called. It's America. Why are we naming stuff that? But they basically put it in where they want to call in all lower judges, which is like 30-something judges, and then they'll do a vote that way, which then that came to the verdict of reinstating the block on this thing. And so the judge reissued the block that you cannot deploy National Guard troops into Portland. That's where we're at now, if you haven't been following along. It says federal judge in Oregon ruled Friday that Trump's administration failed to meet the legal requirements for deploying the National Guard to Portland after the city and state sued in September to block the deployment. The ruling from the U.S. District Court Judge Karen Immergut, a Trump appointee, followed a 3-day trial last week in which both sides argued over whether the protests in the city's U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement building met the conditions for the use of military domestically under federal law. In a 106-page opinion, Immergut found that even though that the president is entitled to great deference in his decision on whether to call up the Guard, he did not have the legal basis for doing so. And so it is now officially in effect. It's in blockade right now. It's already gone through this legal process and everything, so they can't appeal it again or anything like that. Basically, the only thing that the Trump administration could do in order to take the troops into Portland is to call the Insurrection Act and move forward that way, which is something that he has talked about, and it's been thrown about for quite a while now, talking about getting the Insurrection Act involved, which I think is still on the table for something much bigger that possibly could happen in the future. I'll kind of talk about that a little bit later on that. So I wanted to give an update on what's going on with the Portland thing. So as of now, all the people who are dressed in giant frog and elephant costumes are able to freely dance in front of the ICE building like they've been doing. So I still think it's funny. Anyways, we also have this, and this is only confirming what we have been talking about for a long time as well. And it's interesting that it's coming from the FBI. It says FBI warns of criminals posing as ICE, urges agents to ID themselves. In a bulletin to law enforcement agencies, the FBI said criminal impersonators are exploiting ICE's image and urged nationwide coordination to distinguish real operation from fake. It says criminals posing as U.S. immigration officers have carried out robberies, kidnappings, and sexual assaults in several states. The bulletin cites 5 2025 incidents involving fake immigration officers and says criminals are using Immigration and Customs Enforcement's heightened profile to target vulnerable communities. On August 7th, according to the FBI, 3 men in black vests entered a New York restaurant claiming to be ICE agents. Inside, they tied a worker's hands and pulled a garbage bag over a person's head. Another, believing the burglar's story, surrendered themselves only to be kicked to the ground and tied up as the intruders robbed an ATM. And they were dressed as ICE agents because they don't have to identify themselves, and they can wear masks, and they can do all these things that Trump and his administration have told them over and over, time and time again, to go ahead and do that. And this is the consequence. This case decided by its advisory spans kidnapping, street crime, and sexual violence. Now, this is a big old story, but we're not going to get into it because this is something that we've been talking about for a long time. I've been seeing what's been going on out there. When it comes to what's going on with this stuff, I'm really taking time to vet everything to see if this is actually what's going on. And there is a lot of this stuff happening. I literally just looked into a report and a video that showed that if you guys don't know, it's not illegal to follow ICE around and record them. That's a good thing to do. You are protected, constitutionally protected to do so, but it's a good thing to do to hold accountability. But the ICE agents don't like that, and they're getting more and more aggressive towards people who do that. And there's a case where there was somebody who was following an ICE agent around, and the ICE agent stopped in the middle of the street, got out, and pointed his loaded weapon at the person, telling him to not do it. There just happened to be a local cop that was around that didn't know what was going on. And because he saw a gun being brandished by somebody that he didn't know was ICE because he was just wearing street clothes, got out and handled the situation, realizing that, it's an ICE agent who got irritated that somebody was recording what he was doing and got out and pulled a gun on the person. This is an ever-growing situation of what's going on there. Then we have people who are just dressing up as ICE agents, rolling around and doing this stuff, robbing people, sexually assaulting people, kidnapping people, and only God knows what else has been happening that I haven't been able to see or that hasn't been reported. And so this is the anarchy. This is the lawlessness that we see written in Scripture and is ever so regurgitated by pastors and podcasters all over the place that are talking about this. But the problem is they're not talking about this side of it. They're talking solely about the other side. When in reality, what we have is we have gang on gang warfare happening. We have the gangs of the anarchists on the streets, and we have the gangs of the government on the other side. And this is where we're at now. And this is what happens. And we see the chaos and the lawlessness that's happening. This is just open season for robbers, sexual predators, and kidnappers and murderers. Just feel free to dress up and go and do what they gotta do. So this is, again, just another confirmation of what we have been discussing for months now. Moving on, again, some of the stuff we're just going to hammer through it because we got a lot of stuff to get through. Stop playing video. That's annoying. All right, so we have this. There's a lot of ups and downs happening with this right now. A lot of questions in the air. So I don't have anything that I'll be able to confirm for you guys on this. We have to wait and see in the next couple days. But we have I can never pronounce her name. Ketanji Brown, I think that's it. Jackson halts order requiring full SNAP payments for now. So Supreme Court Justice Jackson, we'll just say Jackson, temporarily halted an order requiring the Trump administration to make full supplemental nutritional assistance programs, or SNAP, November payments by Friday. Jackson's ruling paused. This was at the end of last week. Jackson's ruling paused some of the payments until the U.S. Court of Appeals for the First Circuit can decide the administration's motion to block the order pending its appeal. It does not reflect a ruling on the underlying legal merits of the case. And it says, given the First Circuit's representations, an administrative stay is required to facilitate the First Circuit's expeditious resolution of the pending stay motion, Jackson wrote. So it's currently at a stay right now for a ruling from the appeal that was sent in by the Trump administration. I hate it when web pages refresh on their own like that. So, to try and sum this up, what we have is, we know that, and we've been covering this for a while as well, so this is just a summary of the situation. We know that the SNAP benefits, because of the government shutdown, were halted. Then we found out that the USDA actually had a legal requirement to issue out payments through a contingency fund that was built specifically for government shutdown. The USDA removed that from their website and said that, no, we're not required to do it. Only in certain cases of like tornadoes or hurricanes, then we can do it. So that was illegal what they did there. So then a judge came in and said that that they had to at least issue half of the SNAP payments for November in order to give people something who are currently on SNAP and whatnot. And basically the Trump administration appealed to the Supreme Court and said, can you rule on this, that we don't want to do it? And so this is the response that they received, because the Trump administration gave an appeal and said, we need a decision basically in a day, which that's not how the Supreme Court works. So Jackson here basically did the actual legal thing of putting a stay on that appeal to give time for them to address it properly. Now, that stay was temporary, and it actually ended today, but then they extended the stay on the judgment, the ruling of it, till Thursday night or Friday morning. The reason why that is because, if you guys don't know, the government shutdown situation, the Senate passed a bill, and it now needs to go into the House for them to determine before it goes to Trump, or if it gets rejected. And they're supposed to convene starting tomorrow. So they basically put a stay on it for the next 2 days because they apparently believe or expect that the government's supposed to reopen in the next couple of days. We'll see what happens. Everything's up in the air regarding this, so I can't necessarily give you a conclusion to everything. So we have to wait and see if the government will indeed open. If it does open, then they don't need to rule on it. And normal SNAP procedure will then start happening because the government is open on that. Now, a couple of interesting things, little tidbits that I discovered amongst this is, according to I don't know what they're called, at least off the top of my head, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like one of the Supreme Court judges gives a opinion on something. It's like their opinion piece type of thing. And in Jackson's opinion piece, she made reference to something. She didn't confirm it, but she made reference to the fact that the contingency fund that's designed specifically for SNAP payments during a government shutdown, and that's when it only gets touched, may have already been taken by the Trump administration and is currently missing, which is why the Trump administration has been fighting so hard not to pay the SNAP benefits. Now, again, I can't confirm that. There's a lot of legalese when it comes to that type of thing, but how it's written, it sounds like the funds aren't even there. They were taken. The other aspect of this that's important to remember is also in that same opinion, they make reference to the fact that it's actually up to Congress to issue out contingency funds for SNAP payments, which begs the question of why is the contingency fund there to issue SNAP payments during a shutdown if Congress isn't even in session during a shutdown? So that also has an interesting play on that as well. The other aspect that I want to put in on this regarding this legal battle, hopefully I'm not losing anybody. I know I'm just spitting out a lot of stuff right now. I apologize. But the other thing that I want to talk about when it comes to the legal situation is there's the prospect of the Trump administration trying to set a precedent for issuing out support funds, however you want to call them, towards people, for people during a shutdown, and they're using SNAP as the precedent to set that. So if, let's just play if, this is a what if scenario. If, say, the government does not reopen this week, and the Supreme Court does have to give a ruling on this SNAP thing. If they rule against Trump can then start a legal lawsuit situation regarding it, and they can go through all this stuff, which could be a while, but it could be a short thing too. Or the other aspect is the Supreme Court will go with what Trump is saying, the Trump administration, and they will block the contingency funds for the SNAP situation. In both cases, what they could be doing is setting a precedent when it comes to things like Social Security, unemployment pay and benefits, and other things like that would be classified under the same systems as SNAP, and saying during a government shutdown, we can turn off all unemployment checks. We can turn off all of these other programs that we have we dole out money to people, and we could all of a sudden stop doing it because of the precedent that was set by the SNAP block as well. So that's another legal aspect that's worth paying attention to going forward. They might be able to do something, even if the government does come back on. This could still be a battlefield that they intend to do to stop all those types of payments as well. So something to keep in mind. Those are just some aspects that I've watched and I've been looking into and everything like that. There's a lot of stuff going on with the SNAP situation. And, it's one of those things, I've mentioned this before, but I want to mention again, because my dad and I were just talking about this on Sunday, and it just kind of refreshed the topic in my mind, is most of the people in today's world, because they're still blinded by the theatrics of politics, the left-right paradigm, the red versus blue and stuff like that, because they're still hooked on that thing. They're still hooked on the conversation of, should we even have SNAP or not? Should we even have welfare programs or not? And the problem is where we're at in reality is we're way past that conversation. We're not even at the point of having that conversation anymore, because we're at the point now of, well, the entire country, I don't want to say the entire country because it's not the entire country, but a lot of people in the country, because of the damage that's been done regarding everything that's been going on, are need that system. At the same time, that system is adding to the collapse of the system right now. And if you just take it away, you're going to have a whole bunch of people that are going to end up collapsing the system, because they need the very system that's breaking the system in order to keep the system alive. Does that make sense? So we're at the point now of reality where the conversation of, well, we should keep SNAP or get rid of SNAP isn't even in play anymore. But yet most of the people around the country are still having that conversation because they can't see past that first veil of the politics. See, this is why we talk so much about making sure that we can look past the theatrics of politics. Because if we can't look past that, that's literally the first barricade. If we can't look past that first barricade, we cannot see that reality, that conversation that does need to happen. We can't even get to that point because we're stuck in mud of something that really doesn't matter. And that's why it's so important. That's why I talk about it all the time. That's why I issue warnings about watching people who can't seem to get past that agenda. Because everything that they're talking about regarding everything that's going on is null and void because they can't see past that first wall. They don't really know what's going on. They're in the void. They're in no man's land talking about something that doesn't matter anymore. And so that's why it's so important that we don't get swallowed up in that. That's why I talk about it all the time. I know it sounds like a broken record to a lot of people, but I think that's the very important thing. And that applies not just to what's going on with this. This applies to geopolitical stuff. This applies to technology. This applies to the economy. This applies to all that stuff. You have to get through that first wall in order, if you want to see what's going on. And we got a lot of stuff that we're going to talk about again tonight. I'm trying to get through this stuff, I'm telling you guys. But we got a lot of stuff that we're going to talk about tonight that requires being able to look past that first wall, the veil that's in front of everybody right now on the grand stage. This just popped up today. I just wanted to throw it in there because I think it's absolutely ridiculous. This came out from the White House. I saw it today, came out yesterday. But it says lower prices, bigger paychecks. This is their new data report regarding what's going on. And their source says President Donald J. Trump's bold economic agenda is delivering real results for American families. With new data from DoorDash's State of Local Commerce report confirming that inflation has been tamed, everyday prices are beginning to drop and wages are growing. Yes, the Trump administration is issuing out data sheets utilizing a food delivery app. That's their source that claims that inflation has been tamed. As somebody who delivered DoorDash for a living for multiple years, I can't even begin to tell you how absolutely idiotic and absurd it is that the White House is issuing new data claiming that inflation has been reduced utilizing their statistics. But yes, let's trust what the government is telling us, shall we? Let's trust what the government is telling us. As somebody who buys groceries every week, I can tell you that I'm getting taken to the cleaners every week. And eventually, they're going to start requiring an arm and a leg or a kidney or something. Anyways, so we have this as well, sticking with kind of economy stuff. Supreme Court appears skeptical of Trump's tariffs. I had a few people ask me regarding the tariff battle that Trump is currently having in the Supreme Court situation right now, because I brought that up, that they're hearing pros and cons from both sides regarding keeping Trump's powers, tariff powers, to him so he can just issue tariffs whenever he wants to, or if that power actually resides in Congress, which is how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to. If you guys don't know, the tariffs are supposed to be drawn up and approved by Congress for each individual tariff. Now, when I say that, I don't mean if you're issuing 10 tariffs for one country, you can sign off on all 10 tariffs for that one country. No, each individual tariff must be heard and gone through a motion and approved by Congress, both Senate and House, before the president can sign on to it. That's how it's supposed to be. But then we've noticed that Trump has just been throwing tariffs around by himself, and that's not how that's supposed to work. But yeah, we have this going on. So it says in the biggest legal test yet of Trump's economic agenda, several conservative justices on the Supreme Court have signaled skepticism about his power to unilaterally impose sweeping tariffs. There was a hot bench during arguments Wednesday. This was last week, with each judge posing multiple questions. A decision in the case could take weeks or months. So this is something that could go on for a while. It's not something that we should expect to get an answer right off the bat. But some tidbits regarding this situation that I think you guys should be aware of is, one, the Trump administration, Trump himself, but officials from the Trump administration came out and confirmed that said even if the Supreme Court issues or judges against rules against the Trump administration for allowing Trump to just throw around tariff powers, they said they have multiple other avenues. They said like 3 or 4 other avenues that will allow them to get around that ruling and do what they've been doing anyways. That shouldn't surprise us because we talked about at the very beginning of this thing that that's what Trump said he was going to do anyways. It doesn't matter what the ruling is, but it's still important to pay attention to what's going on with this. So if he just dodges it and goes around, again, that's so illegal and unconstitutional. But, you know, and I want to point this out too, because I've been hearing this argument by a lot of people. I've been seeing this argument a lot. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard this argument before, but it's, well, Obama did this, so why can't Trump do that? Well, Biden did this, so why can't Biden do that? Well, Bush did this, so why can't Trump do this? So basically, people who claim that they're conservatives and for the Constitution and bringing back the rule of law, their argument for letting Trump do illegal and unconstitutional things is because the other guy did it. I can't even begin to tell you how stupid that argument sounds coming out of my mouth, because it's stupid. So because the other guy did illegal and unconstitutional stuff, your idea for restoring our country is to allow this guy to do illegal and unconstitutional stuff anyways? And you wonder why this country is falling apart at the seams? You have to get past that first wall. You have to get past the first wall. So when it comes to the tariff situation, we're still waiting for a ruling. When that comes out, I'll let you guys know what's going on with that. Just wanted to give an update because I had quite a few people asking about that. I'm gonna grab water. 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves. It tastes like butter. Points for whoever can guess that. All right. Oh, don't be glug-glugging me in there. Here. I muted myself. All right. Let's go ahead. Yeah. Butter water. That's disgusting. Oh, y'all are crazy. Desiree's got it. Yep. Nightingale's got it. Good stuff. All right. Let's move on to this. So I'm sure this applies to some people. Doesn't necessarily apply to me. I'll just leave it at that, but I'm sure this applies to some people. It says IRS kills off popular free direct file option for the 2026 tax filing season. While the IRS hasn't officially confirmed that the direct file is dead, the IRS website indicates that the program is closed and past users will have to file a special form to get their previous tax returned. Well, the IRS may have not officially confirmed it, but if you go to their website, it is closed. It's closed. Direct file is now closed. And then you'll have to sign in another way to do it. So, yes, it is currently closed. And so direct file is basically the option that was issued by the IRS to freely file taxes through their own tool that they had, which a lot of people relied on because it's free. They don't have the money because they're getting robbed without representation by an illegal and unconstitutional income tax situation, which we're not going to get into that. Can't afford to have that. Can't afford to have somebody else file their taxes or pay for a program to do it. Yeah, it says we knew that it was coming, but now we know for sure direct file, the free tax e-filing option offered by the Internal Revenue Service, has been shelved by the Trump administration. This week, reports began flying that the IRS had notified states via email that direct file won't be available next filing season. Some participating states have confirmed that the existence of the email to Forbes, and they got a screenshot of the website that I just showed you. It said direct file is closed. Says the controversial direct file program allowed eligible taxpayers to file taxes directly with the IRS online for free. As part of the Inflation Reduction Act, Congress tasked the IRS with delivering a report on, among other things, the cost of developing and running the free direct e-file tax return system. The report was to include the cost to build and administer each release with a focus on multilingual and mobile-friendly features and safeguards for taxpayer data. The IRS released the report to Congress May of 2023. So this is something that they've been working on for a while. It's been around for a while. It says, jumped. After the first year, the Treasury Department declared that the direct file would be a permanent free tax filing option. The IRS also expanded the program in 2025 to include more states and the ability to handle a wider range of income, credits, and deductions. And it says the free tax software program had been marked as safe for the 2025 season, with now Treasury Secretary and Acting IRS Commissioner Scott Bessent, who's a George Soros boy. We've covered that. I have to mention it every time, though. Committing to the program during his confirmation hearing, I will commit that for this tax season, direct file will be operative, Bessent said. However, less than 48 hours after the end of the regular tax filing season, reports flew that the program would be axed, and it was indeed axed. So, first of all, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I think this is probably good for some of y'all to know, in case you didn't know, in case you guys were relying on this free option. The second reason why I wanted to bring this up is because the makers of TurboTax gave Trump's inauguration $1 million to cancel the direct file program. Oh my goodness.
You are terrible.
You can't make this up if you tried. This is just, add this to the laundry list of just backdoor corruption deals that's been happening regarding this. The makers of TurboTax, the people who make bank during tax season because they charge people a stupid amount of money for their programs or for an agent to file for them, basically bribed Trump to get rid of the free option, so people are forced to go to them and to pay money to get their taxes done. 1 month before the start of Donald Trump's second term, Intuit, the parent company of TurboTax, announced a $1 million contribution to his inauguration committee. At the time, the company told Politico that the donation was part of our decades-long commitment to bipartisan advocacy. But that long-time bipartisan advocacy was done with a goal in mind. As Politico reported, Intuit has numerous interests in Washington, and that would incentivize it to gain favor with the incoming Trump administration. It has spent more than 2 decades online lobbying against the IRS, making it easier to file people's taxes online. On Wednesday, the White House granted Intuit's wish. The Associated Press reports that the Trump administration plans to eliminate the IRS direct file program, which we just went over, and it is indeed closed. The government initiative that allowed many taxpayers with simple returns to file with the Internal Revenue Service for free. The industry's gain is a major loss for American taxpayers. The 2025 edition of the National Retail Federation's annual tax return survey found that almost 40% of U.S. adults will prepare our taxes ourselves using computer software, nearly double the next most popular method of filing. Intuit, along with H&R Block, monopolizes the market for that software, and it's a lucrative market. Americans spend an estimated, hear me now, Americans spend an estimated 1.7 billion hours and $31 billion doing their taxes each year. So you're going to tell me that the people who make bank off of that, make a crazy amount of that $31 billion, are not going to try and lobby to the administration to make it so they protect their market that they currently own? Now, see, this is where the conundrum comes into play. This is where you start seeing some people short circuit when you bring this up to people. Because the MAGA people, they are the ones that say abolish the IRS and let's not do taxes, get rid of income tax, and so on and so forth. Yeah. But the MAGA people are going to protect Trump no matter what, even when he's clearly in the wrong. Give them this option and go, well, you've got Trump who just took a bribe to cancel a program in order to allow people who make tax company software, tax filing software, to profit big time from it. You're going to watch their brains short circuit because they don't know who to defend on this. Well, do I defend Trump for what he did? Because he's Trump, and no matter what, he's always right. But the problem is he's defending the tax people and stuff like that, who I'm supposed to be against. And they're going to start fidgeting because they can't figure it out. This is why we don't follow the cult of personality. This is why we follow Jesus. Simple as that. It's why we don't get swallowed up into the theatrical display that's happening right now. Just had to throw that out there. Anyways. All right. Let's go ahead and shift again because we got a lot of stuff. How are we doing on time? I think we're doing okay on time. Don't look at the tabs. Don't look at the tabs. Patrick, talking to you, man. All right. Let's take a look at what's going on with the wartime stuff. It says Hegseth declares Pentagon on wartime footing. It says U.S. ready if enemies. I'm not even going to repeat that because it's absolutely juvenile, and representatives of our military, our entire military, are using juvenile, childish claims. It says Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth on Friday issued one of the most forceful statements yet of the Trump administration's national security posture, declaring that the Pentagon is shifting to a wartime footing and readying its forces. In a detailed announcement from the Pentagon, Hegseth said that the department is accelerating efforts to streamline weapons testing, modernize equipment, and boost readiness across all branches of the armed forces. We are not just buying something, we are solving life and death problems for our warfighters, he said. We're not building for peacetime. This is the line that's confirming what we have been expecting. We've been talking about how they're building up for some major wartime stuff. This is a line that you always want to pay attention to. He says, we are pivoting the Pentagon and industrial base to a wartime footing. When you start addressing a shift in the industrial base, that includes things like technology, programming, manufacturing, and everything like that. That's a broad umbrella. When you're talking about industrial base shifting to a wartime footing, that means they are preparing for war. That's not the usual production that they go through, the peacetime production. This is shifting to preparation for war. He's basically confirming that the Trump administration is prepping for some type of war scenario in the future, coming future. This isn't like, 10 years off type of thing. No, they're prepping for something in the near future, whenever that might be, but they've got a lot of things building up. So there was that. I got this video of him actually saying it. Let's listen to Mr. Hegseth here, sorry.
We're not just buying something. We're solving life and death problems for our warfighters. We're not building for peacetime. We are pivoting the Pentagon and our industrial base to a wartime footing. Building for victory should our adversaries.
And I'm not going to let him finish that because that's the juvenile thing that we don't need to listen to. He's confirming what we have been expecting, that this administration is indeed shifting and prepping for war. So, yeah, fun times. Coming along with that, we have this, the Bigham, the Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier strike group has entered the Fourth Fleet. They are now in South Com, which is the Venezuela region down there. They announced that they were going to move the Gerald Ford down there from the Mediterranean down, and they have indeed done so, and it just crossed over today. Says the Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group led the world's largest aircraft carrier, led by the world's largest aircraft carrier. Why do you need the world's largest aircraft carrier to take down some apparent just narco speedboats? Explain that one. It says the USS Gerald R. Ford entered the U.S. Southern Command area responsibility November 11th. It says with more than 4,000 sailors and dozens of tactical aircraft aboard, Gerald R. Ford provides combatant commanders and America's civilian leaders increased capacity to project power through sustained operations at sea. Alongside Gerald R. Ford, the Carrier Strike Group brings additional capable, lethal, and adaptable warfighting assets, including the 9 embarked squadrons of Carrier Air Wing 8, Destroyer Squadron 2's Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers, USS Bainbridge, and USS Mahan, and the Integrated Air and Missile Defense Command ship, USS Winston S. Churchill. So it's not just the carrier, it's the carrier, it's the wings, it's 2 destroyers, and it's the missile defense ship as well. It's all those things that have gone down into Southcom. Carriers don't ever travel alone. They always have like bodyguards, and that's who went with them as well. So Gerald R. Ford is indeed down there. And that's on the heels of this. It says Hegseth, 2 more alleged stupid videos. 2 more alleged drug boats struck in Eastern Pacific, 6 killed. This is coming from yesterday. It says Pete Hegseth said Monday morning that the U.S. military conducted strikes against 2 alleged drug trafficking boats in the Eastern Pacific, killing 6 quote-unquote narco-terrorists. Hegseth said both strikes, which took place Sunday, were conducted in international waters against vessels operated by a designated terrorist organization. He did not specify which organizations the boat were related to. Shocking, because they probably don't even know. They're just blowing people up and killing people. U.S. military has conducted at least 19 strikes against alleged drug smuggling boats in both the Caribbean Sea and the Eastern Pacific since the campaign kicked off in early September, killing a minimum of 76 people, none of which have been confirmed to actually be terrorists, narco-terrorists, or to even have drugs on the boat. We've received 0 confirmation of that. We've also received reports coming out of the UN condemning the strikes, which the UN, whatever, but they have condemned the strikes, saying that they're illegal. And we just got a report today that says the United Kingdom is now shutting off all intelligence communication in the region with the United States, because they also claim that these drug boat strikes are illegal as well, and they don't want to contribute to it. Now, if that's just political posturing on the outside, I'd probably, if I was a betting man, would say that's a 60% chance that that's probably what's going on, is just outward political posturing. They're still doing whatever they're doing, but there's still the off chance that maybe this administration is doing a rogue situation here and the UK doesn't want any part with it. That's also a possibility. That's a situation we don't know. We don't know. We just got to go with what we're being told and not plant a flag on anything. But either way, you got the UN and the UK that are now making moves against the United States regarding the situation. That should tell you everything. Not to mention that those 2 people that they found in the water that survived the attack, we covered this as well, who were picked up by the United States, were not brought into the United States for due process and to be prosecuted and punished for what they did. No, they were shipped back to their countries, where both of those countries said, we're not doing anything with these people. They're free to go. The United States couldn't hold them because they were innocent. Otherwise, they would have prosecuted them or just killed them. Or if they did get shipped to the other countries, we would get some type of information coming out of about that, but all they did was they were free to go. So that should tell you everything that you need to know about that as well. It's just crazy, man. And people are defending this. It's like, how would you like it if another country went and blew up your house, killed a couple of your family members, and then told their media outlets in their country and said, well, we believe that they were carrying drugs that they were going to send to our country, so we went ahead and struck them. It's basically the same thing. Think about it if it was your people. All right, we also have this. Yeah. It says U.S. plans first permanent military base in Israel as Gaza ceasefire framework takes shape. This is part of that 21-point plan that was drawn up with the Trump administration, Netanyahu, Kushner, and his affinity partner, or affinity? Is it affinity? I can't remember. It's his investment firm, his private equity investment firm that's leading all of this stuff, as well as the Gaza Trust thing. And that requires building a permanent military base in Israel for the first time. Wow. For the first time, the United States is preparing to establish a large military base on Israeli soil near the Gaza border. The estimated cost will be approximately $500 million. And the base would support the International Stabilization Force, the ISF, a U.S.-led formation being assembled in coordination with multiple governments. Representatives from countries including Jordan, the UK, Germany, Denmark, Canada, Australia, France, Spain, and the United Arab Emirates are present in this multi-floor compound. However, the chain of command and legal authorities governing the ISF are still under discussion. I have an idea of who's actually going to be the governing authority for this thing. First name Roth, last name Child. But that's just me. It says the American contingent, I can speak, I promise. American contingent numbers about 200 troops, which they're currently already in Israel. They were sent a few weeks back. So the American troops are already in Israel for this thing. It says under the ceasefire framework, the ISF is being discussed as a force of about 20,000 soldiers. The United States has stated it will not send combat troops into Gaza and is instead holding talks with several countries, including Indonesia, the UAE, Egypt, Qatar, Turkey, Azerbaijan, regarding possible deployments. My word, do you trust anybody on that list? Do you trust anybody on that list? You got the UAE and you got Qatar that are basically just, they own us, the United States, with the amount of deals that they've made with the Trump administration. Then you have Egypt, who doesn't know what on earth they want. Turkey hates Israel. They want them wiped off the map. They're just playing politics right now. And Azerbaijan is over there doing whatever Azerbaijan does. I'm not sure I'm trusting anybody involved with that. Says a senior U.S. official said Washington is seeking to secure a 2-year mandate for the force and governing Board of Peace through a UN Security Council resolution. Of course, we know the Board of Peace is the one that was brought up where they were saying that it was going to be Trump and Tony Blair that were going to be leaders of that thing. Again, 2 more people that I wouldn't trust with that either. So this is more, I just wanted to bring this up. I'm not even going to sit here and try and speculate what comes next regarding this. You guys know my stance when it comes to Middle East news. This is a case where I just wanted to make you aware so you can keep an eye on what's going on over there as well, because there's going to be a lot of moving pieces. I have a feeling this is going to move pretty quick because everything involving the Gaza situation is moving pretty quick right now. I think there's a lot of lies. I think there's a lot of bad reporting that's going on. We're not getting told the whole truth of what is actually happening over there, which again, that comes with Middle East news. So this is going to be interesting to watch. So just want to make you aware of that. All right. We're getting into the meat of things. I know we're already an hour into this thing and we're just now getting to the meat, but I tried to hammer through all the other stuff, but the stuff I wanted to cover, I didn't want to wait on it. I wanted to cover so we could get to this. And so there's a lot of things going on with this. Ocean's Fave, late again. Well, welcome in, Ocean's Fave. Glad to have you here. Better late than never. You got here just in time for all the big stuff. So we have this. I'm sure some of you guys have seen the reports regarding this. It says U.S. lifts sanctions on Syrian leader ahead of meeting with Trump. Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara is set to meet with Trump on Monday, and he indeed met with Trump on Monday. That's right. If you guys don't know who Ahmad al-Sharaa is, he was a leader in Al-Qaeda. He was a leader in Al-Qaeda. And he's the one that Netanyahu and Trump decided to hand Syria over to after the whole dethroning of al-Assad. And this dude is notorious for doing many things, including mass casualty events, beheadings, killing American troops, slaughtering Christians, and all that type of stuff. And not only was he given over into Syria as the leader of it, but he was taken off the sanctions list, and he was invited into the White House to meet with Trump. Says the United States on Friday removed sanctions on Syrian President Ahmad al-Sharaa just one day after the United Nations Security Council lifted similar sanctions ahead of his meeting with President Donald Trump next week. According to a notice on the U.S. Treasury Department's website, the United States removed specially designated global terrorist designations on Sharaa and Syria's Interior Minister Anas Khattab, who was also in this at this trip and in the White House as well. I hope you guys understand that. The U.S. Treasury Department put a notice on their website that says the United States removed specially designated global terrorist designation. They took it off this guy. That's right. He had a $10 million bounty on his head by the United States government. Al-Sharaa is the former leader of the U.S. designated terror group Al-Qaeda, who was once wanted by the U.S. as a terrorist with a $10 million bounty on his head. He has even served time in the infamous Abu Ghraib prison, making deals with the people. Now, it's important to bring this up. We've talked about it before, but just in case you don't remember, or you're new here and you don't know what I'm talking about, how this was able to happen in Syria is because Al-Qaeda, if people don't know, was a created, funded, and trained terrorist proxy group that was ordained or created by the United States military and the Israeli Mossad. They're the ones who created this group so they could use them in the Middle East to cause havoc in order to move things around the board and put pieces where they're supposed to be. And so that's where that whole situation comes from in regards to that. Now, when it comes to how this dude who was connected to Al-Qaeda was able to take over in Syria is because, and we talked about this and showed all the reports and the timings of everything. It took 2 days for his Syrian rebel group, Al-Sharaa here, to go all the way up Syria, occupied Syria, Iranian forces, the Syrian military, everything just all over the place. And they managed to work their way all the way up into Damascus and overtake it in a day because the United States military and the IDF bombed a route for them to get up in there in 2 days, which would be impossible if they were not receiving help and this was not all planned. You would need to suspend all reality and all disbelief in order to believe that they actually managed to accomplish that on their own. If you actually do believe that, then again, I've got beachfront property in Montana that I'm willing to sell you. But that's why this is all happening. So the fact that they put this dude in position and then they're just lifting sanctions, inviting him to the White House and doing all this stuff is because this was clearly orchestrated when it came to this. If you guys don't know, here's some pictures. That's actually the real bounty that was put out by the United States. Stop this terrorist. Mahad al-Jawali, he had like 3 AKAs. That's one of his AKAs, up to $10 million for him. And then those are the pictures from when he met Trump yesterday, on Monday, in the White House. Terrorist who killed American citizens or American military and slaughtered Christians. Sitting there. Big old smile on Dumpy's face there. Yeah. This comes with this report. It says Trump deploying U.S. military to Damascus Air Base. Major Syria shift. Going back to Syria. The White House is preparing to deploy the United States military to an air base in the Syrian capital of Damascus to help shore up a potential security pact between Syria and Israel that U.S. President Donald Trump is currently brokering, according to a new report. This is, we'll just get to this first. The new country's president, Ahmad al-Shara, is due to meet with Trump at the White House on Monday, which they did. Historic first for a Syrian head of state. The U.S. in June lifted long-standing sanctions on Syria and has petitioned the United Nations Security Council to remove its own measures leveled against al-Shara. The U.S. is planning to use the base to keep an eye on a possible agreement between Israel and Syria. It's not clear which site is referenced in the report, nor how many U.S. troops would be involved when they could arrive. And there's, again, the picture of them in the office. This is interesting to keep tabs on what's going on with this, with the Syria, because Syria is that northern doorway for, let's say, a gigantic army to make their way through and down into Israel, which we know will play a prophetic event later on. So this could be a play where they start building an agreement and an alliance and getting all this stuff prepped and everything like that. And Israel's sitting there thinking that they're good to go. And then all of a sudden the doorway gets opened for the armies of the north to make their way in. So this is definitely something to pay attention to. That's my route of thinking when it comes to future prophetic events, which I don't think we'll be here for. But it's definitely something to keep in mind, because that would, if there's we're all good, I helped install this guy in, we're going to have a security pact, we're going to work on all this stuff, everything is going to be gravy, we're good to go, and then all of a sudden the doorway's open. That could be a play when it comes to false security on that situation. So wanted to bring that forth there. All right. Now, how do I want to? You guys can't see it yet. I'm looking at it right now. I'm not sure how I want to play this yet. So, my thing with this, and we just talked about the theatrics of what's been going on with that Syria situation and everything. This is what happens when you have owned puppets and pawns and proxies, and you're able to maneuver things around, and it can look like one thing and the media is saying one thing, but what's really happening over here nobody wants to talk about, type of thing. And so I have a comparison here between al-Shara and somebody else, and I want to transition this into showing how nothing is ever as we're actually being told it is. So I'll just go ahead and show this to you guys. Here's a little comparison. I'm sure you guys recognize the dude on the right. Again, I didn't want to talk about this dude, but due to the fact that I have seen everybody and their mother and their mother's mother talking about it, that doesn't want to address the elephant in the room when it comes to what's going on. So I figured I need to do it. So here's a little comparison. You got al-Shara here, who's an Al-Qaeda VIP, a leader in Al-Qaeda. He had a $10 million bounty on his head. He was involved in mass casualty events, suicide bombings, killed American troops, slaughtered Christians in Syria, and a whole host of other things, including beheadings and torture and all that type of stuff. And he was actively welcomed into the White House. Then you have Mamdani. Yes, the new mayor, not even governor, mayor of New York City, Mamdani, who is not Al-Qaeda. He is a practicing Muslim. He is a socialist in a socialist city. Half of his campaign team is Jewish. Yeah, we'll talk about that. He is an Obama-style politician. He has Satmar Hasidic Jewish support. And by Trump's own words, he is a national security threat. Now, I know some people who don't know me and how I approach things would probably think that I'm in some way defending or endorsing Mamdani. I'm not. I'm just trying to show you the ridiculousness of what is really going on when you can look past, again, the veil of political theater. Because according to Trump, this is how everything plays out. Al-Sharaa, an actual terrorist that killed, I don't know how many people, but led a whole bunch of people to kill more American people and Christians. And so, again, the president said that he's going to go in guns a-blazing in Nigeria in order to protect the Christians, is welcoming somebody who is known slaughterhouse of Christians. And he's not a national security threat. But yet the dude, Mamdani, who's basically a socialist and a Muslim, is considered a national security threat. This just goes to show, and I'm telling you from the things that I have seen, you go and you listen to, you know who they are, the prophecy people, and they agree pretty much with what we're seeing here. They do. And it just goes to show how ridiculously blind and deceived we really go. It's three blind mice. It really is. So let's go ahead and get into this. So I'm sure a lot of you guys know, you've heard it broadcasted everywhere. The United States is officially over. We're a Muslim country because Mamdani had won the New York mayoral race. That's right. The mayor of New York determines what's going on in this country. It says Mamdani will be the youngest New York mayor in a century, NBC News projects. And he did, in fact, win. Democrat Mamdani has won New York's mayoral race after the 34-year-old Democratic Socialist energized progressives in the city and across the country while generating intense backlash from Donald Trump and Republicans, as well as some Democratic moderates, and so on and so forth. Now, this is the important part here I want to bring up. Andrew Cuomo. Do you guys remember Andrew Cuomo? This is the dude that all the Christians, all the conservatives, all the Republicans wanted to hang in broad daylight from a lamppost. They wanted to literally hang him in the streets of New York because during the Koof situation, he's the one that basically allowed everybody's grandma to die. He killed grandmas in the retirement homes and the hospitals. You guys remember that? I do. I remember it like it happened yesterday. Everybody was calling for his head. Now, here's what politics does. You take that guy and you put him up against Mamdani, an Obama-style politician with a shiny smile that all the young women are attracted to. Who's going to win? This is why it's selection, not election. It's the same exact thing that happened with Trump and Harris. You pick the dumbest, most ridiculous and chaotic person that you could, and you put them up against Trump, and booyah, your dude is in like Flynn. It's the same thing that happened in New York. It's the exact same thing. Because Mamdani was designed to take the position. And so they put Cuomo, the grandma killer, up against Mamdani, and look at what happens. Now, when it comes to this, she wasn't dumb. I'll disagree with you on that one. So with all of that, I'm sure this is probably what you've heard the most regarding Mamdani. It says George Soros funneled $37 million to Working Families Party, other lefty groups backing Zoran Mamdani. It says socialist Zoran Mamdani has declared billionaires shouldn't exist, but it's unlikely he'd be the front runner to become the Big Apple's next mayor if it wasn't for one far left kingmaker George Soros. Financial records reviewed by the Post show. Mamdani recently told Meet the Press, "I don't think that we should have billionaires, frankly," while doubling down on his plan to jack up property taxes on richer and whiter neighborhoods if elected mayor. It says, but in less than a decade, Soros' ultra-woke grant-making network Open Society Foundation has indirectly funneled a combined $37 million to the Working Families Party and at least other 9 left-wing groups whose endorsement and get-out-of-the-vote groundwork played a pivotal role in helping Mamdani upset ex-governor Andrew Cuomo in the Democratic mayoral primary. It Since 2016, the far-left social-friendly WFP, which is the Working Families Party, which helped score Mondandi the Democratic line by brokering cross-endowment deals that squeezed out Cuomo, has pocketed a staggering $23.7 million from Soros through his nonprofit fundraising arm, Working Families Organization, Inc. And at least another $13.9 million went to the 9 nonprofits and their offshoot fundraising entities, including Make the Road Action, $3.5 million, and social, or 3. Is that 3,000? Yeah, that's 3 million. They're missing a number there. I think they're missing a number. And social justice nonprofit Community Voices Heard, 2.6 million, and Move On, 2.3 million, and the anti-Zionist group Jewish Voice Peace for Action. Man, they got a lot of spelling mistakes on there. 650,000. This says, while Zohan Mandambi attacks job creators and rallies against health, the truth is he's benefiting from millions in support from billionaires and the very nonprofit networks he pretends to stand apart from. Yeah, we're not even going to look at that. But yeah, if we jump down, you can see there's all the money and stuff like that. So anybody shocked? Honestly, anybody shocked that hold on. Again, if you're going to debate me, don't put words in my mouth, because you claim that I said something that I didn't say. So again, I'm not even going to pay any attention to that. I have enough people putting words in my mouth. I don't need more. But anybody surprised that George Soros is supporting something like this? No, I'm not. He does all this stuff all the time. He's one of the guys that does pass around money in order to make these things happen. Wouldn't be surprised if, again, he's also the same dude who supported Cuomo back when he was governor doing all these things. And so the time has shifted. He's basically said, you know what, Cuomo, your time's over. We're going to use you as a stooge to get this other guy in. We're going to funnel all this money to him, and that's how it's going to work. This is how this politics stuff works. This is why voting and whatnot it means nothing. It's the illusion that you're giving, that you have a choice in regards to this. So nobody should be surprised by this. It doesn't surprise me in the least. And this is something that's been going on for a long time. Now, again, this is probably what the majority of what you've been hearing. My word, just let it go. Just let it go. But this is probably what you've been hearing from most people in regards to him. Let's get to some of the other stuff that people don't want to talk about, shall we? That I think is quite revealing in regards to this. How many people saw this? Poll finds a third of New York City Jews voted for Mamdani while Cuomo dominated Jewish networks. A third of New York City Jews voted for Mamdani. Exit poll finds that, again, if you believe in these things or not, I've never been surveyed once ever, but still, just for right now, it says 33% of New York City Jews voted for the far-left anti-Israel politician Mamdani. Jewish poll sample size is around 710 people, so take that with a grain of salt. In Hasidic parts of the neighborhood, up to 90% of residents supported Cuomo, while blocks away in gentrified areas, close to 90% went to Mamdani. So we have this. So he's got Jewish support. If this dude is calling, like I've been told by so many people, that Mamdani is looking to put Jewish heads on stakes in the middle of downtown New York, that's fascinating that we have this. It's fascinating that most of his team that helped him win the race are actually Jewish people themselves as well. It says, meet the Jewish insiders hoping to help Mamdani get elected as mayor. Progressive Jewish strategist helps the Muslim candidate navigate controversy and connect with voters. It says, Mamdani is poised to become New York's first Muslim mayor in no small part thanks to a tight-knit team of young Jewish professionals who helped him beat a storied political dynasty. The team behind the youthful socialist shocking blow to the establishment is all the more remarkable, considering how his positions on Israel have roiled against the largest Jewish community outside of Israel. The Jewish professionals advising Mamdani had a strategy to counter concerns about whether his inclusiveness extended to Jews. Says, I'm lucky that I do not have to turn too far for feedback from Jewish New Yorkers, and that so much of my campaign is being run by Jewish New Yorkers, Mamdani said in his April interview with The Forward. Anybody hear about this? Anybody hear about this? Because I've been told that this dude wants to slaughter every Jew that he comes across. Now, I'm not saying that he's in favor of the Jews. I'm not saying that he's not part of the anti-Israel movement. I'm not saying that in any way, shape, or form. Again, don't put words into my mouth. But what I'm telling you is I've been told the exact opposite regarding this. He literally has Jews working for his campaign. Here's a look at some of them. Andrew Epstein, communications director. Epstein, 38, professional digital director, built an online campaign in town that typically has candidates run on broadcast and cable. He produced all the campaign's social media videos, several of which went viral. He's a Jewish that's been working to get Mamdani elected. Epstein learned some Yiddish growing up while attending the West Side Yiddish School, and so on and so forth. Epstein is expected to stay on as a senior advisor to Mamdani on messaging and outreach. Then we have Julian Gershon, political director. Gershon, 28, bought insider credibility to his key role in shaping Mamdani's agenda and has campaign outreach. It was Gershon's idea to have Mamdani walk the length of Manhattan on the Friday before the election, a move that earned media coverage and was mentioned by the candidate at the start of the victory speech, according to the official affiliated with the campaign. He previously served as the campaign manager for Representative Jerry Nadler. Wow, there's a character. The co-chair of the Congressional Jewish Caucus, who faced a tough re-election bid in 2022. In outreach then to Jewish voters, Gershon noted that Nadler was the city's lone remaining Jewish House member. He said losing that primary against Carolyn Maloney in the redrawn 12th district, which includes the heavily Jewish neighborhoods of Manhattan's Upper West and East Sides, would have national implications. But yeah, so we have Gershon here, who's also a part of this. Gershon now serves as Mamdani's director of writing, overseeing speeches and all written communication. Morris Katz, media strategist, another Jew on his team. Katz, 28, is affiliated with Fight Agency, a Democratic media firm that identifies inspiring candidates with working class appeal. He served as Mamdani's senior advisor and TV ad buyer. This one is also interesting because he's the son of David Barkatz, who is a Hollywood screenwriter and producer. So that's pretty interesting in regards to that. Let's see here. Spencer Goldberg, Mamdani's executive aide and body man, who typically is near the candidate and privy to all conversation, is also Jewish. So he has that person as well. Then we have Brad Lander, outgoing NYC comptroller and key ally, also Jewish. Lander, the highest ranking Jewish elected official in the city. Again, the highest ranking Jewish elected official in the city is credited with helping Mamdani get over the finish line. His cross-endowment to Mamdani in the final week of the campaign, despite their disagreements on Israel. I lost where I was at. Where was I at? Put off some voters who may have been wary of the assembly members' pro-Palestinian activism. Sorry. You have a Muslim New Yorker and a Jewish New Yorker campaigning together, Lander said in an interview. You could tell that it touched something in people. Lander, who finished third in the primary, said that his alliance with Mamdani spurred mixed reactions among Jewish voters. Some applauded him for forging a hopeful Jewish-Muslim political partnership. Interesting. While others said that they were alienated by this decision. A liberal Zionist, Lander said that the two continue to talk regularly but declined to elaborate on whether he will seek to influence Mamdani's approach to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. We're having some conversations about the campaign and the issues that we're facing. They're also a part of the Progressive Jews for Racial and Economic Justice, of which Lander is a member, endorsed both Mamdani and Lander through its affiliated political arm, the Jewish Vote, after hundreds of members voted in favor of the dual-ranked endorsement. So that's also worth noting as well. So we have all of that to go along with this. So a lot of his team that are still staying on and helping him right now are indeed Jewish. We also have this. It says, we are New York City rabbis who support Zohran Mamdani. And here's why. It says, my co-authors listed below and I are among many New York City rabbis who voted for and proudly support Mamdani in the race for New York City mayor. Our religious tradition calls us to pursue justice and invokes our responsibility to bring it into the world. For many of us, the campaigns of Mamdani and Mensch co-endorser Brad Lander, who we just talked about, marked the first time in a long while that we witnessed the Jewish call for justice clearly reflected in the platforms and character of mayoral candidates. Supporting Zohran and Brad was was, for us, an explicitly Jewish act, and we're cavelling over our contribution as Jewish New Yorkers to Mamdandi's historic victory. Those who signed this thing, Rabbi Andy Kahn, Rabbi Abby Stein, Rabbi Barat Elman, PhD Rabbi Ellen Littman, Rabbi Nancy H. Weiner, and Rabbi Miriam Grossman. I cannot begin to stress again how much of this is pure theater, and it's being projected into the camps that they want it to. One of the big ones is getting it into the church. Again, I've been hearing about this where it's the giant Muslim takeover that's been happening, and Mamdani is apparently going to lead it from New York. I think there's something else that's currently going on. We'll get to in just a second, though. We also have this. This is why some Satmar Hasidic leaders endorsed Zohran Mamdani as mayor, stunning many Jewish voters. A surprise endorsement of Mamdani by a faction of the Satmar Hasidic community has set off a firestorm within the community. On Sunday, Rabbi Moshe Indig, a political leader of the sect led by Rabbi Aaron Titelbaum from Kiryas Joel and known as the Aram, publicly declared his support for Mamdani at a meeting he organized in Williamsburg. But within hours, 3 prominent leaders of the Aram sect issued a joint statement rejecting the move and announcing they would endorse former Governor Andrew Cuomo. If Mamdani, a democratic socialist and strident critic of Israel who leads by double digits according to the recent polls, wins Tuesday's election, it would mark the 3rd consecutive mayoral race in which Aram's political arm has demonstrated its political influence by backing the eventual winners, while other Hasidic blocs supported rival candidates. And you can see New York City Mayor Mamdani and Rabbi Moshe Indig, political leader of the Satmar Aram sect. Friends, you can find other pictures and videos of Mamdani meeting with other rabbis and leaders in the Jewish community as well. Now, I'm bringing all this up because, again, this is a situation where I think there's something possibly at play when it comes to both economic and deployment in the United States might become a factor. I'm not saying this is what's going to happen. I'm saying these could be contributing factors. And here's one of the things that I think is worth mentioning. ICE is recruiting NYPD officers after Zohran Mamdani's victory. ICE is using Mayor-elect Mamdani's victory to recruit police officers to leave the New York City Police Department. On Friday, ICE posted a recruitment message to social media calling on police officers to defend the homeland and work for a president and a secretary who support and defend law enforcement, not defund or demonize it. It says Mamdani has been a vocal critic of ICE, telling CNN he would not allow the NYPD to engage or cooperate with ICE on civil immigration enforcement. His team, that's not in place yet, but his team has come out and said that they will stand by that and not work with it. So what ICE is doing in Homeland Security, what they're doing is they are actually trying to get NYPD officers to quit and join them instead. This is from their Twitter. It says NYPD officers work for president and its secretary who support and defend law enforcement, not defund or demonize it. And they're literally telling New York City cops to leave and join them instead. Now, what this could do is create massive instability when it comes to what's going on the streets of New York. We already know that New York City is, well, a disaster, to say the least, in more ways than one. And so what you're going to do, what they seem to be doing, is building instability within there, which could give them the opportunity, which New York City has already been listed as a city and a state that they want to bring in their National Guard and so on and so forth. It's been listed there. This could provide them an opportunity to do so, all in the name of having Mamdani put in place to get all this stuff going. They could just be passing the bucket over to him and dumping it on his head. So this is an opportunity that may spark something in New York City. Now, what about what's going on with the reports of all the Muslims? That some of them I can confirm, some of them I can't. about all the Muslims that are currently overtaking every inch of the United States. And I'm saying it that way because that's how I've been told that it's actually happening. I think there's a chance, if they go this route, that they could issue the Insurrection Act to not only go after the immigrants like what they're doing right now, but going after all the Islamic people as well, because you have Mamdani going into New York, which Trump has already declared him to be a national security threat, which they want to deport him and all that type of stuff. Then you have what he said regarding Nigeria. They're going to send in the military, guns blazing, to protect the Christians, and so on and so forth. There's an opportunity that they could use all of that in order to declare the Insurrection Act to send the military, literally not just National Guard, but Marines and all them across the United States in order to take control. So that is a possibility that could happen. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm just giving you an idea based on the indicators that I've seen. Now, the other aspect to this that it's worth mentioning is the economic side of things. And it's interesting because I'm mentioning this, and I literally have a I don't remember what it's called, but it's like a church for, just slipped my mind. I can't remember what it's called. It's like a church for the Muslims, literally across the street. Like, I live in an apartment building where half the people here are Muslims because they literally just walk over to the building. I can't remember what it's called, but it's literally right there. I actually had some Muslims that lived above me for mosque. Thank you. Mosque, Muslim mosque right there. And I actually had a group of 3 Muslims that lived above me for about 6 months, and it was the best neighbor I ever had. So keep that in mind. Just throwing it out there. Anyways, we also have the economic side of things, which I think could play a part. It says Trump aides review funds for New York City after Mamdani win. We've heard this come straight from Trump, who said that he's going to threaten to cut off federal funding to New York City if Mamdani wins the mayoral race. First of all, that's illegal on multiple counts. You cannot, because that's technically election rigging, because you're threatening to do something if a certain person takes over a spot. So keep that in mind. But then it's also illegal to withhold funds from a state and a city, or a state in this case, withhold funds from a state based solely on political opposition. That's illegal as well. So he can't do this, but he's threatening to do it. But again, he doesn't follow the law, so who cares? It says aides to President Donald Trump have spent the days following Zohran Mamdani's victory in the New York City mayoral race, reviewing federal funds that benefit the city to potentially suspend or cancel, a White House official said on Tuesday, highlighting the threat of retribution over the Democratic Socialists' win. The administration is waiting on Trump to greenlight any funding freeze, according to the official, who discussed the preparations on condition of being anonymous before the president makes a decision. The White House and the mayor-elect's transition team have not been in correspondence as of yet. The White House official did not detail specific programs that could be on the chopping block if Trump, who repeatedly sought to rally voters against Mamdani ahead of the election, follows through on threats to pull funding from the city. And I think this is also another display of political theater as well. I think that Trump knew that Mamdani was the one that's supposed to go in. And so what does he do? He draws up rallying cries against him, which only built more stability for that person as well. It's the same trick that they pulled when it came to the mainstream media and Trump during the Biden administration as well. So it's the same trick. They pull it over and over and over again, but yet we can't ever seem to see that same trick. It's like the grandpa that keeps showing up, pulling a quarter out from behind your ear for 18 years of your life, and you're still surprised every time it happens. I think that's the case of what we are seeing right now. So I think this is also another situation of getting ready to collapse New York City's economy, which is already in the tank as it is. I don't know if people have been following, but multiple mega banks are ditching New York City and going elsewhere. Goldman Sachs just announced that they're going to do like a $3 billion or $300 billion, something like that, headquarters branch in Texas because they're leaving New York City. The New York Stock Exchange is actually building a New York Stock Exchange in Texas because they're not surviving very well in New York City as well. So New York City is already on its way down. This guy could be going in order to facilitate the final crash of what's going to be happening over there. That's a possibility as well. Again, I'm not predicting anything. I'm just telling you the possibility of what I've seen going on right now. It's fascinating, though, because if they do crash New York City right now, I'm not sure how that plays into people's theories that New York City is Babylon, but hey, what do I know? I'm just throwing something out there on that one. So again, I know a lot of people are probably going to say, oh, so you're saying that you support Mom Donnie. I'm not saying that at all. My whole goal is not to play sides because I'm not on anybody's team. I'm sitting in the stands next to Jesus. I'm sitting in the bleachers next to Jesus watching the circus show go on in front. I don't support any of these people. I'm just trying to tell you the hypocrisy of what's going on, the theater of what's going on, and the playbook of at least how far I understand it of how these things operate, and try and tell you guys that this is clearly all just there to drum up their emotional response and to move forward with their plans. That's all I'm trying to do. I don't support the guy. I don't. But I'm trying to tell you that there's a lot more going on than what we're being told. And that is clear as day if you're willing to look at it. At least from the position of being in the bleachers. And finishing this off, yeah, all the world's a stage. We've been told that for decades, but yet we can never seem to remember it when it's in our own backyard. Kind of like deception. We can point out the deception in everybody else's yard, but we can never spot the deception that's going on in our own. It's fascinating how that works. Fiona Fapp, New York Stock Exchange in Texas. Yep. They announced New York Stock Exchange Dallas, I believe. They're going to move it down there. They'll still have their thing in New York, but they're going to open up a big one in Dallas as well. All right. And to finish all this off, there's a lot going on when it comes to kingmakers. Now, we talked about George Soros. We know he's one of the biggest ones in history. But there's another one that you might not have heard about that plays big-time kingmaker when it comes to Israel-U.S. relations. And this is the family I mentioned that I've been looking into the Adelson family, and I said I would have something coming up. This was a few weeks back, and I did some looking around, did some digging, and I think I found what I needed to find in order to bring you guys what's going on here. And I think this is a big player when it comes to how Trump won over the church. And it's not specifically because they were doing campaigns designed specifically for the church, but there's certain moves that were made that played very well when it came to the church. And I think you'll see why when we get there. So let's take a look. Miriam Adelson, who is the Israeli billionaire backing Trump. She has become a kingmaker in U.S. Republican politics while also backing right-wing politics in Israel. This is for the past decade. Miriam Adelson has ascended in Republican circles in the U.S. and in the political scene in Israel where she grew up. The Israeli-American billionaire and casino owner has become a kingmaker in conservative American politics, following in the footsteps of her late husband, Sheldon Adelson, who died in 2021. Her $100 million donation to President-elect Donald Trump's campaign in 2024 was a watershed moment. With Trump's victory, many eyes are on Miriam and her possible influence in his future policy decisions, most notably on Israel. Trump is on record vowing to end Israel's war on Gaza and Lebanon. At the same time, he began changing his critical rhetoric of the war after receiving the whopping campaign boost from Miriam, and several of Trump's nominees have links to the Adelson family. This is, however, Many reports have said that she played a pivotal and influential role in developing the couple's political trajectory over the past decade. That's regarding her and her husband, Sheldon. Now, who is this chick? Miriam married billionaire Sheldon, a casino magnate, in 1991. Decades later, he would become one of Trump's most prominent financial backers. The couple emerged in the 2010s among the top Republican mega donors, spending $500 million on Republican candidates in congressional, Senate, and presidential elections. Their massive political spending sprees turned the couples into kingmakers. After her husband died in 2021, Miriam took over his business interests and political outlook, looking to shape her vision of U.S. politics and the state of Israel. This couple here made mega money through a chain of casinos, which is fascinating because you'll know that Trump also came from the casino region as well, where he has a whole host of issues of getting bailed out and going through legal lawsuits regarding his money laundering schemes through casinos and stuff like that. So if you've done any history, we've talked about that stuff in the past, but they kind of come from the same background when it comes to that. This family is also notorious because Miriam's background when it comes to being Jewish also led Sheldon to start supporting people and influencing people in order to start maneuvering U.S. Israeli politics around the board. These are one of the main families that you don't necessarily hear about that starts causing influence and telling these politicians and political leaders to start moving things around the board. One of the big ones we'll talk about in just a second was, I believe, the main one, which is why the church went with Trump. So it says the Adelsons were among Trump's biggest supporters in his 2016 presidential bid, though they were not the first donors to back Trump's cause. They did not support Trump during the Republican primary, which we'll talk about in just a second. And Sheldon leaned towards Marco Rubio, who was a Florida senator at the time. Miriam favored Senator Ted Cruz. Interesting, because Marco Rubio, who Trump clearly did not like in his first administration, added him as Secretary of State this time. Trump even hit out at the Adelsons, accusing them of trying to buy Rubio. And you can see this was from October 13th, 2015 by Trump. He says Sheldon Adelson is looking to give big dollars to Rubio because he feels he can mold him into the perfect little puppet. I agree. And guess what? Trump is now their puppet, is now Miriam Adelson's puppet now. However, the Adelsons met with Trump in December 2015, and the core of the conversation was Israel. Miriam said that she found Trump to be very charming. Okay. They also donated $5 million to Trump for his inauguration festivities and gave $500,000 to Trump legal defense while he was being investigated regarding alleged Russian interference in the 2016 election. And as we know, Trump is connected to both the Russian mob and the Kremlin, so no surprise there. That support yielded significant results as Trump moved the U.S. embassy in Israel from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, which the Adelsons had been pushing American presidents to do for over a decade. Remember, that was the big thing during the 2024 campaign of the churches and the pastors and stuff. Remember, Trump is the one that recognized Jerusalem as the capital and moved the embassy there. Why did he do it? Boom. The Adelson family. Because of their money and their political influence. Miriam and her husband were influential in Trump's decision to move the U.S. Embassy in Israel from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, and reports emerged in May that she was conditioning her support for the former president on allowing Israel to annex the occupied West Bank officially. Now that plays a big part too with what we've been seeing recently as well. Now, he went and had an interview with Israel Hayom, which they own. It's an Israeli newspaper. And in that interview, Trump said Israel should finish up its war on Gaza, saying that it's losing international credibility. Trump's words came in direct contrast to Miriam, who wrote in a column for Israel Hayom that if you thunder at the tactics of Israel's counteroffensive, you're dead to us. After the donation of $100 million, Trump began attacking the Biden administration and Democrats, saying that they were working to hinder Israel's war efforts. Changed on a dime. Because he was the one that was in alignment with Biden when it comes to ending the war. But as soon as he received $100 million from Adelson, who said, if you disagree with what we're saying, then you're dead to us, he changed in an instant. During the presidential debate with Vice President Kamala Harris in September, Trump said Harris hates Israel. Many of Trump's nominees for key administration roles have also have been nods to Miriam. Trump's choice for U.S. ambassador to Israel is Mike Huckabee. Huckabee was given the Adelson Defender of Israel Award at a dinner hosted by the Zionist Organization of America. Trump's pick for the UN ambassador to the UN, Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, is also received the same award from Miriam in March of this year. Trump also tapped former Senator Rubio as his Secretary of State, the same man that in 2015 he referred to as a puppet for Sheldon Adelson, but was indeed supported by Sheldon Adelson. Oh, we got another one going on. Rubbish. Truth hurts. The truth hurts. We're not here to coddle. I'm not here to give you sugar and avoid certain subjects and topics and stuff like that. This type of maneuvering and puppeteering and king-making goes not only on the left side, but also the right. And it's something that people really, and I can't stress this enough, really need to wake up on. Because I can't begin to tell you, yes, we support God's chosen people in his land. We do here. We support them. But that does not mean that we support the political Zionist group that's connected to it, which I'm not going to get into details about. I have a video on my channel if you want to learn about, which I believe plays a part when it comes to who the true Jews are and who the fake Jews are. When it comes to the Edomites and when it comes to the actual Jewish people, when it comes to the synagogue of Satan, which I believe are the fake Jews. And so we need to be able to separate those two. But the problem that I have noticed is for the churches who do support Israel, they can't seem to separate those things. And again, they hold Israel up, all of Israel, including the bad portion of it, the political Zionist movement, hold them up as an idol. Meanwhile, you have the other side who outright rejects Israel and wants to see him die and get wiped off the face of the earth, because it's a tale of two extremes. And we're not here to play favorites. We're not here to play sides. We're not here to play extremes. We're here to find out what's really going on. And that includes hearing some of the hard stuff that's happening in regards to this. So I truly hope that people who are listening who disagree with literally the facts of what I'm presenting, you can find evidence of all this. That's why I'm talking about it. Will actually wake up and place the idol of Israel aside and start to see what's really going on between the deception. Again, this is the deception. You can't lump them all together, but there's clearly a set of fake Jews that are clearly involved with all the globalist stuff that's going on right now. And we got to make sure that we can see through that veil and see truly what's going on between this stuff. And that includes talking about things like this. So here's her Forbes profile, Miriam Adelson and family. They're the 42nd richest family in the world. They're worth $40.8 billion with a B. And Miriam Adelson is the widow of Sheldon Adelson, the former CEO and chairman of casino company Las Vegas Sands, who died at 87 in 2021. She and her family now own more than half of the New York Stock Exchange listed gambling empire. They literally own half of the page on the New York Stock Exchange when it comes to the gambling scene, which has casinos in Singapore and Macau. In 2022, Las Vegas Sands sold its assets on the Vegas Strip, the Venetian Resort, and the Sands Expo and Convention Center to Apollo Global and VC Properties for $6.25 billion. She also bought the majority stake in the Dallas Mavericks NBA team from Mark Cuban in late 2023. Long known as a GOP megadonor alongside Sheldon after his death, Adelson is a top backer of Trump. Born in Israel, Adelson became a medical doctor focusing on addiction. Pretty interesting. She's a doctor that focuses on addiction but owns casinos, which has one of the biggest gambling addiction things involved with it. Interesting. Let's keep going. This is where things start opening up. Hang with me, guys. I know. Hang with me. This is the pro-Israel donor with $100 million plan to elect Trump. Now, again, for the person who said that this is all rubbish, I want to tell you that this report that we're about to read was literally printed in the Las Vegas Journal, which is owned by the Adelson family. So keep that in mind. This is printed in the same journal that they own. As the Nevada caucuses drew to a close in February, this was back in 2024. As the Nevada caucuses drew to a close in February, Donald J. Trump and several top aides gathered for a quick dinner in a suite atop his hotel in Las Vegas before he descended and declared victory. But the Republican billionaire at the center of attention during the meal was not Mr. Trump. It was Miriam Adelson. She said she would not donate to him while Nikki Haley, his last rival standing and a friend of hers, remained in the race, according to two people briefed on the meeting who insisted on being anonymous to describe the private gathering. So basically, she was friends with Nikki Haley and said, I will not support you while she's still running. And look at what happened. Boom, she stepped down. And all of a sudden, the checkbook comes out for Trump. But once the primary was over, she gave Trump a renewed assurance that the famous Adelson geyser of cash, which had shot out hundreds of millions of dollars over more than a decade, would erupt again. Fiercely hawkish on Israel, she was deeply unnerved by the Hamas attack on October 7th and would be likely to shape a second Trump administration's posture on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Also interesting, I want to throw this out there. I don't know if people have been paying attention, but they had a meeting. The Israeli government had a meeting where Netanyahu was present, and multiple people publicly called out Netanyahu. We talked about this when it first happened, and I got called an idiot and a moron and an anti-Semite and attacked by the church and the prophecy community for doing so. But multiple people in the Israeli government, where Netanyahu was sitting there, publicly confronted him during their speaking time, telling him that he was aware and allowed October 7th Hamas attack to happen so he could take over Gaza. Another guy actually even called him out and said, you were the one that was funding Hamas through Qatar to make this happen as well, which was another aspect that we talked about that I was almost crucified for even presenting the idea of. Anyways, let's keep moving. It's not what we're here for, but it mentioned October 7th, and I wanted to bring that up because that just happened today. So basically, she's going to be involved with shaping Trump's administration posture when it comes to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It says her fervor for Mr. Trump, some of his allies say, actually exceeds her late husband. At one point, she suggested adding a book of Trump to the Bible. Adelson's bond with him was etched in stone when his administration moved the United States Embassy in Israel to Jerusalem from Tel Aviv. They sat in the front row of the opening ceremony and would later pay $88 million for the Mediterranean villa in Herzliya, where the ambassador had lived before the embassy move, which helped ensure that a future administration could not easily move it back. When she and her husband implored Mr. Trump again to move the embassy. So they played a major part in Trump getting them to move the embassy. But Shmuley Botek, a rabbi and a longtime friend of the Adelsons, said that he believed Dr. Adelson supported the annexation and considered so-called land for peace deals to actually be land for war. This had to do with going against a two-state solution. And this is coming from a rabbi. And it says she and her husband enjoyed an extraordinarily close relationship with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel, who even prevailed upon them to start their own newspaper, Israel Hayom, which enthusiastically promoted his administration. But recently, the relationship between her and Netanyahu is now pretty much non-existent. So that's worth noting as well. We'll get to a little bit more of that in a second. It says in 2016, as in 2024, the Adelsons engaged only in the general election, even though Mr. Trump was hardly their first choice. Adelson was partial to Ted Cruz and Mr. Adelson to Marco Rubio. Mr. Botek introduced the Adelsons to Jared Kushner, Mr. Trump's son-in-law, and eventually the couple sat down with Trump himself late in 2015. So the rabbi introduced the Adelsons to Kushner, who we know how he's been playing when it comes to what's going on in the Middle East. And it's through Kushner that they finally got to meet Trump in late of 2015. Mr. Adelson found him very charming, and over the next year, the couple would press him and Mr. Kushner about relocating the embassy. Dr. Adelson was familiar with disappointment, though, Mr. Botek recalled, including when George W. Bush failed to follow through on his promised embassy move. But Mr. Trump made good on his promise and went on to award Dr. Adelson the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian honor. By 2020, the Adelsons were full-blown Trump believers, putting upward of $90 million into a pro-Trump super PAC. Still, Mr. Trump stayed close. He and Dr. Adelson met for half a dozen dinners across the country in 2023 and 2024 that stretched as long as 3 hours, talking about Israel and their families. Around the time they broke bread at Mar-a-Lago in mid-March, Dr. Adelson told a confidant, Mort Klein, the president of the Adelson-funded Zionist Organization of America, that she was planning on making a very generous gift to Mr. Trump's re-election effort, Mr. Klein recalled, which we know was that $100 million that she dropped. Now, Mort Klein, interesting fellow. Just a couple things about him. Morton A. Klein. He is the president of the Zionist Organization of America. He was an economist for Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford, and Jimmy Carter. His father was a Satmar Hasid ultra-Orthodox rabbi, the same group that just supported Mamdani in New York. Just throwing that out there. He is a longtime confidant to Marian Adelson and contributed to persuading Trump to move the embassy to Jerusalem. Worth noting on that. Now, oh boy, hold on. This website just got messed up because Jerusalem Post likes to refresh their website all the time. Check out this headline. Dr. Miriam Adelson, the modern-day Rothschild Israelis have finally recognized. Miriam Adelson has been building the Jewish future for decades. Israel is only now starting to realize it. She and her husband, Sheldon, were viewed as kingmakers, puppeteers, or just another set of billionaires trying to shape Israeli politics in their image. Their immense wealth, their influence over both Israel and the U.S., and perhaps most of all their endless support of Netanyahu made them divisive figures. Israelis, especially Israeli media, are finally waking up to the reality that should have been obvious all along. Miriam Adelson is the most significant donor to the Jewish world and to Israel in our era. She is, in no certain terms, the Rothschild of today. In recent months, she has thrown her weight behind one issue, the release of the Israeli hostages from Gaza. This is from this year, by the way. And unlike many who pay lip service, she's actually making things happen. In the past few weeks, one name that keeps coming up as a significant force in pressuring the release of the hostages and influencing U.S. President Donald Trump's stance, billionaire Miriam Adelson, or Miri as those close to her call her. Adelson has personally met with the hostage families, ensuring that they have access to the most influential people in Washington and pressuring Trump to act. She is one of the biggest donors to the president and has worked behind the scenes to ensure Trump is fully committed to the mission. It turns out that when you have Miriam Adelson's resources and access, you don't just influence policy, you rewrite it. For years, the Adelsons were synonymous with Netanyahu's political survival. Their media empire, particularly Israel Hayom, was widely seen as a personal PR machine for him. That changed when Netanyahu was caught negotiating with Yedioth Aronoth publisher Noni Moses about limiting Israel Hayom's reach in exchange for favorable coverage. The betrayal cut deep. That's where the whole shift in their relationship happened. Instead, in 2006, he first entered, this is talking about Sheldon, by the way. 2006, he first entered the market by acquiring 50% of the Free Daily Israel. I hate Jerusalem philanthropist in the world. Someone who does more than write checks. She moves history. Miriam Adelson has been building the Jewish future for decades. Israel is only now starting to realize it. It says I'm frozen. Shouldn't be frozen. You guys good? Okay. What all did you guys miss? What all did you guys miss? I want to make sure that I don't skip anything. All right. Did it skip anything? I don't want to skip anything. Nancy West, how would we know? You let me know when it froze what I was talking about, so I don't. Oh, man. I hate it when it refreshes. Wow, that was a while ago. Okay, thank you for that. All right, hate it when it refreshes. So we'll get back to where it was. I'll just repeat what I said. So, in 2006, Sheldon Adelson first entered the market by acquiring 50% of the Free Israeli. But after disagreements with co-owner Shlomo Ben-Ziv, he launched Israel Hayom in 2007. In 2014, he expanded his media influences by purchasing Mekor Rishon and the then Mariv news site NRG, further solidifying his impact on Israeli journalism. And if we jump down, it says, for years, Miriam was seen as a benefactor with an agenda. Now she's understood for what she truly is, the single most influential Jewish philanthropist in the world, someone who does more than write checks. She moves history. Miriam Adelson has been building the Jewish future for decades. Israel is only now starting to realize it. So, of course, not only are they moving around in Israel politics and United States politics, but they own a media empire on top of their Compedia, on top of their, casino empire. And they make their money through those ways, and they're able to influence society through media, and they're able to influence politics through their connections to both the Israeli and United States governments. We also have this. Miriam Adelson donates $100 million to the Trump campaign. If we jump down, it says Miriam Adelson has delivered on a pledge she reportedly made at the start of the general election season, donating $100 million to a campaign committee supporting the candidacy of Donald Trump, according to the disclosures filed Tuesday. Of course, this was last year that this was going on. Major funder of pro-Israel politics and prolific donor to Jewish causes, Adelson, 79, is carrying on a legacy she built with her late husband, casino magnate Sheldon Adelson. The Adelson family has long been one of the largest sources of campaign money for Republican candidates and has backed Trump during each of the three general elections. Worth noting that between 2012 and 2018, and I can only say 2018 because I don't have the statistics adding anything later, but between 2012 and 2018, the Adelson family was the number one financial contributor to the Republican Party. Think about that for a second. From 2012 to 2018, the Adelson family, these two were the number one contributor to the Republican Party. I wish I had the stats for 18 till now, but I don't. But something tells me that they're probably up in the top 3 spots. It says if Trump wins, Adelson could once again be instrumental in shaping American policy in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Miriam Adelson and her husband were influential in Trump's monumental direction to move the U.S. Embassy in Israel. So we're getting how many reports now that it was them who told Trump to do it? Because they said, if you want that $100 million, you need to move it. Direction to move the U.S. Embassy to Israel from Tel Aviv to the country's contested capital city of Jerusalem in 2017. Now, we start getting into a little bit of this stuff, too. We're almost done, guys. Hang with me. I know it's a lot of stuff, but hang with me. Trump pardons Israeli Colonel Aviam Sella, who recruited spy Jonathan Pollard. Just hours before leaving office, President Donald Trump on Wednesday granted a full pardon to Aviam Sella, 75, the handler of convicted Israeli spy Jonathan Pollard. Yes, so this was back during his first term. And basically what's going on is this Israeli dude brought in a Navy guy to just collect boxes and boxes of intel regarding United States national security, military objectives, CIA operations, all this stuff. And he took it to the Israeli government. That's what this is going on. So Jonathan Pollard was the one who was brought in, recruited by Aviam Sella to become an Israeli spy with United States intelligence. Donald Trump granted full pardon to Aviam Sella, 75 Israeli spy Jonathan Pollard's former handler. White House said Sella's request for clemency received backing from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Sella, a retired Israeli Air Force colonel, enlisted Pollard to spy for Israel and fled the United States after Pollard was arrested in 1985. Sella was later indicted by a federal grand jury espionage charges, carrying a life sentence, but was never extradited to the United States. Pollard spent 30 years in a U.S. prison and was released in 2015. He immigrated to Israel afterwards. Sella was one of 73 pardons issued by Trump during his final hours in office. It says in one of his final acts as president, Donald Trump on Wednesday granted a full pardon to Aviam Sella, the recruiter of convicted spy Jonathan Pollard, as a part of a wave of clemency actions. Pollard, a former Navy intelligence analyst, sold military secrets to Israel while working at the Pentagon in 1980. During the 1980s. Sella, 75, a retired Israeli Air Force colonel, enlisted Pollard to spy for Israel and fled the United States after Pollard was arrested in 1985. Sella was indicted in absentia by a federal grand jury in 1987 on 3 counts of espionage, carrying a life sentence, but was never extradited to the U.S. from Israel. Why am I bringing this up? Why is this important? The White House said in a statement that Sella's request for clemency received backing from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli ambassador in Washington, the American ambassador to Israel, and Miriam Adelson, the widow of Republican mega donor and Trump supporter Sheldon Adelson, who died, last week, but died in 2021. Miriam Adelson was involved with this as well. And not only that, but she gave her private plane to take him back, to pick him up. Speaking of her private plane, Jewish philanthropist loaned her private plane to Mike Pence. Miriam Adelson loaned Mike Pence a plane for a campaign-style tour of Israel. Miriam Adelson, the widow of casino magnate Sheldon Adelson and Republican kingmaker in her own right, loaned former U.S. Vice President Mike Pence a plane this week, affording him the kind of photo ops that presidential contenders cherish. Accompanying Pence was Matt Brooks, the Republican Jewish Coalition executive director, who was close to Adelson. In addition to meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett and President Isaac Herzog, Pence sat down with an interview with the Adelson-owned daily Israel Hayom, in which he pledged to scrap any nuclear deal with Iran that Biden brokers. Then we, of course, know this list of donors paying for Trump's new ballroom, the Adelson Family Foundation. That is them. They're paying for the ballroom as well. And then we also have this. Texas Democrat slams mega donors, cashes check from casino billionaire. James Tallarico's largest donation in 2024 came from Texas Sands, run by billionaire Miriam Adelson. I haven't talked about this dude in 2 years. I looked up the last time I talked about him. It was 2023, because he's the dude who's like a Presbyterian pastor who teaches Gnosticism in his church. He talks about how the Bible supports abortion, and that God's true name is Sophia, and that's where he gets his wisdom from. And of course, we know that's where all the Gnosticism and stuff comes from. So I talked about that in 2023. But he's taking money from the Adelsons as well. Texas State Representative James Tallarico, a Democrat known for railing against billionaire influencers in politics, is facing accusations of hypocrisy after Politico revealed that he accepted $59,000 from a PAC backed by mega donor Marian Adelson. Texas Sand PAC, the Texas-based political arm of the casino giant, has more than $9 million in cash on hand heading into the upcoming election season. That money comes almost entirely from Miriam Adelson. In 2023, Tallarico voted for the constitutional amendment that would have allowed Texans to vote on government monopoly casino legalization. She owns casinos. She donates to his PAC, saying, if you want this money, then you need to make sure that we can get casinos in Texas. Deals being made. The $59,000 contribution was the largest he received last year. Tallarico is rumored to be considered a bid for U.S. Senate, which he just announced in October. Almost done. Just a couple more things. So we talked about how she called for a book of Trump in the Bible. It says the U.S.-Israel ties are at their strongest ever, and Dr. Miriam Adelson, publisher of the Israel Hayom Daily, penned an article crediting President Donald Trump for the feat. Adelson, who was in Israel this week for the Israel Hayom Forum on U.S. Relations held in Jerusalem, talked about, in nuptial terms, our countries celebrated their golden anniversary more than 20 years ago, she continues. We are now at a platinum, a miracle of preciousness, radiance, and endurance, and the man who most deserves credit for this is President Donald Trump. Scholars of the Bible will no doubt note that the heroes, sages, and prophets of antiquity, who were similarly spurned by the very people they came to raise up, she said, would it be too much to pray for a day that the Bible gets a book of Trump, much like it has the book of Esther, celebrating the deliverance of the Jews from ancient Persia? Then there's this. Trump talking about giving the Medal of Freedom Presidential Medal of Freedom to Miriam Adelson, basically saying that medal means more than when a injured or fallen soldier received the Medal of Honor. I kid you not.
I have to say, Miriam, I watched Sheldon sitting so proud in the White House when we gave Miriam the Presidential Medal of Freedom. That's the highest award you can get as a civilian. It's the equivalent of the Congressional Medal of Honor, but civilian version. It's actually much better because everyone gets the Congressional Medal of Honor. That's soldiers. They're either in very bad shape because they've been hit so many times by bullets, or they're dead. She gets it, and she's a healthy, beautiful woman. It's right. And they're rated equal.
Interesting. Very interesting. And just a few things to wrap this up. Sheldon Adelson owned Las Vegas Review Journal endorses Marco Rubio. Just confirming the reports on that. Here's the tweet. I collected this one from 2015. Sheldon Adelson is looking to give big dollars to Rubio because he feels he can mold him into the perfect little puppet. I agree. No, and now we know that Donald Trump is a puppet to Miriam Adelson. We have this. Sheldon Adelson gave Trump and Republicans over $424 million since 2016. We have that. And just to finalize everything, there's basically everything that we went over served up into this. Who is Miriam Adelson? She's an Ashkenazi Jew, Israeli American, served in the IDF. She's publisher of the Israel Hayom News and owner of Las Vegas Review-Journal. She met Trump through the rabbi and Kushner. She's the third largest donor to Trump's 2024 election influence in the West, in order to bring influence to West Bank support. She's the third largest. She's up there with Elon Musk and, of course, Timothy Mellon, which we talked about. Timothy Mellon, connected to the banking family, and his father was connected to Jeffrey Epstein. Sheldon and Miriam Adelson pushed Trump to move the embassy to Jerusalem. She donated to the Patriot Legal Expense Fund Trust to fight Trump-Russia probe. She's a financial supporter of the Zionist Organization of America. Her father was a prominent member of the Labor and Marxist Mapam political party. She's a member of Rockefeller University, member of the Board of Trustees at the University of Southern California. She calls for the Book of Trump to be added to the Bible. She was given the 2018 Presidential Medal of Freedom by Trump. And Sheldon groomed and funded Marco Rubio, and Miriam later endorsed him for 2025 Secretary of State. So, with all of that, does anybody think that there's no puppeteering going on behind the scenes regarding Trump and the U.S.-Israeli connection? I know where I stand, but that's a decision that you're going to have to figure out on your own. I can't answer that one for you. Because again, like we discovered earlier on, there's somebody who was in the chat that clearly no amount of facts or evidence or critical thinking or logic was going to change their mind. They were dead set in stone that anything that would reveal anything regarding Trump and the Israeli government or anything like that clearly doesn't exist in their mind, because they want to live in a world that's been crafted and formed in order to fit around their beliefs and their biases, as opposed to going with what is reality. But the fact is we talked about how there are clearly kingmakers like George Soros and what he did with Mamdani, and there are clearly kingmakers on the other side like Miriam Adelson and the Adelson family, who have clearly been directing Trump and his push with the whole Israeli situation over there. There's a lot there, specifically about a person and a name that most of us probably never heard of. I did not hear about the Adelson family until recently, like very recently. And I had no idea how involved they were with a lot of this stuff. But I can tell you one thing, I'm very grateful to now have information about who these people are. And the influence that they have of what's going on. I mean, it's no surprise. We know Trump's a puppet and so on and so forth. We know that. But having details that not only confirms that, but also opens up some new lanes of thinking, I think is very beneficial for us who choose to watch what's really going on in this world. The Lord does not want us to be ignorant. The Lord does want us to seek knowledge and to apply wisdom and to not be deceived about what's going on. He makes that clear in his word. And I come from the perspective, I come from the angle that I think it's one of those things where if we are purposely blocking off whole sections of information and we are denying evidence and we are choosing to ignore things because we choose to not believe them, which leaves us blind in so many ways, we have blind spots all around us when we do that, then we can start falling in the traps. We can start being deceived in many ways. We could start, we can lose track of the whole picture of what's going on. And I do not find it wise to take that approach of choosing ignorance as opposed to seeking the truth, no matter how difficult it is for us to accept it. And so I think that's the right approach. So hopefully you guys got something out of this. Again, I was not expecting to find that much. I'm sure there's a ton more out there. But hopefully that's a good start of what's going on. So, but with that, we're way over time. We had a lot of stuff to cover. This is what happens when we skip a show. But with all that, of course, we end with the most important aspect of all this. If you stuck around this long, thank you for hanging out. I know it's late. But yeah, so we end, of course, with the most important thing, which is the gospel of Jesus Christ. If you don't know the Lord, all this information that we just talked about really means nothing, because the only hope that you have, the only salvation that you have, and the only way to life is through Jesus Christ. So you can have all the knowledge in the world, you can know all the secrets and all the ins and outs of everything, but if you don't have Jesus, you got nothing. His gospel is as simple as ABC. A, you admit that you're a sinner. The act of repentance, the changing of mind, metanoia, turning from self to Christ, is what allows us to have true belief in Jesus Christ. Because how can we believe in Jesus Christ as our Savior if we don't know why we need Jesus Christ as our Savior? And so it's through repentance that allows true belief in Jesus Christ. We believe that Jesus Christ is the one and only begotten Son of God, that he came down 100% man, 100% God, the God-man, the one and only, and he lived the perfect sinless life. The only one to do so, which means he was the only one qualified to carry the sins of the world upon his shoulders. And he carried him to the cross where he took my place upon the cross. He was crucified and died. But because there's power in the blood of Jesus Christ, and he did exactly as he said he would, exactly as he promised he would, and exactly how it was prophesied, he defeated death and rose again on the third day. For all who believe in him shall not perish, but live forever in his presence and in his glory. The glory is his. It's the completed work upon the cross. It is finished, tetelestai. And see, we are given a wonderful gift of prayer where we get direct access to the throne room of God and we can communicate with our Father. We can communicate with God at any moment of any day. There's no breaks, there's no vacations, there's no, sick days, none of that. In this wonderful supernatural act of prayer, we say, Lord God, thank you for sending your Son, Jesus Christ, to take my place upon that cross, to die in my place, and to defeat death so that I may live. Lord, oh Lord God, we just pray, Lord, please give us the eyes, the ears, and the willingness to seek out the truth and to not be deceived by all the things happening in this world, including one of the biggest deceptions, if not the biggest deceptions, which is ourselves. We truly deceive ourselves more than anybody can deceive us. We pray, Lord, just help us to see through the darkness, through the blindness, and through the deception in order to see what is really happening around us that you have already witnessed, have already gone through, and you know the end. And so we keep our faith and our hope in you, Lord. Give us the strength to be bold for your name, to speak your name, even in the darkest of places. And Lord, we ask, please come soon, Lord Jesus. Maranatha. In your holy name we pray. Amen. Amen. Jalapeno online Jesus? No, that's Jesus. You don't want to listen to online Jesus. He's no good. All right, we are super late, guys. I have a few questions. If I can get through these really quick, because we really don't, I don't want to spend too much more time. We'll see what we can do here. Let's see here. Patrick, with the distraction of the holidays coming up, would you foresee Trump and company pulling the rug on us with a big event before the end of the year? Maybe. I know that they were threatening because of the airlines and stuff like that, because of the shutdown, that there's going to be like no holiday travel for Thanksgiving and stuff like that. Autocorrect is killing you, jalapeno. So that may have been part of the plan. Maybe they're shifting plans. Maybe something didn't go according to plan and things will start opening up and they'll wait on some stuff. Maybe there's a chance that they do something. Honestly, as of right now, from what I've been seeing, I haven't seen any indicators that they would pull something by then, like something big. But again, they can just pull something out of their sock if they choose. So I haven't seen anything that would be big. I thought the economy, job layoff, and the travel restrictions and stuff would be a big thing. But if they open up the government, things might get better. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't have anything other than that, man. Dino Spumoni, question, is Air Force One grounded? I don't think so. Everybody's still being able to fly around on their private jets and stuff. So if something happened while I was doing the show that I don't know about, maybe, but no, the airline stuff doesn't affect Air Force One. Let's see here. Some of these questions are just, it'll take way too long. Jalapeno, is it true that Trump and his family are one of the largest holders of Bitcoin, possibly more than their real estate holdings? Yes. We've covered that. They are one of the largest Bitcoin holders. They're up there, might be the biggest or one of the biggest crypto holders. And yes, it has surpassed their real estate holdings. Crypto is the Trump family's number one financial asset now, as of 2025. Victoria, question, is the destruction Damascus prophecy yet to unfold? I've tried to study it more, but but I have a hard time trying to figure out if it's talking about something that's yet to unfold or already has. The biggest indicator on that would be when you read the description of the fall of Damascus, it speaks about how it will be uninhabitable. Currently, it's still a thriving city, which means it's inhabitable, which means it's a future prophecy. There's some people out there, I don't even know how they even come to the logical conclusion that prophecy has been fulfilled, and they teach it that way when the city is literally still standing there today. So, that's the biggest indicator that I would tell you, Victoria, is when it describes how the city will be a heap of ruins, the smoke to the sky. It'll be uninhabitable. It'll be gone. It'll be similar to, not identical, but similar to Sodom and Gomorrah. It's gone. Nobody will ever be there again. And it's still currently standing. So the fall of Damascus is yet to come. So that's something that will happen in the future. When you get into the question of when that might happen, we don't really know that. We have theories and speculation, but we don't really know that. But we do know that's a prophecy that has that still needs to come. Okay, last two. Neardo Andrew, is it possible that Mamdani is there to pull a ludicrous Islamic stunt forcing more Trump military in? Yeah, we kind of talked about that, where this could be an avenue for them to start doing the Insurrection Act and start going ham with getting military on the streets, not just in New York, but all across the United States. So that's a possibility, or maybe just in New York as well. So it is definitely possible. Last but not least, the peanut gallery. Question, would you rather wear wet socks everywhere or an itchy sweater you can never take off? I'll take the itchy sweater. I don't do wet socks. Wet socks also, that can lead to a lot of sickness. So I don't do the wet socks. I'll take the itchy sweater. That's fine. So, all right. That's all we got, guys. Sorry for going again over time, but a lot of stuff to cover. Usual spiel. If you guys can, like, share, subscribe. Get this out to as many people as you can. It's not about views, not about butts and seats, but it is about getting the warning out to people and getting people to Jesus. So if you guys can do me a solid and like, share, subscribe, hopefully we can get this information out to people, let them know what's going on, give them an understanding of how things are working, and ultimately hit them with the gospel of Jesus. So please like, share, subscribe. Also follow me Rumble and Telegram. Those are my backup channels. If I get booted off YouTube, we'll be back up live streaming over on Rumble. So make sure you guys go ahead and follow me over there. Telegram, post updates, announcements, and other little things here and there. Can't necessarily put in video format that I just kind of throw up on Telegram. So make sure you guys follow me there as well. If you don't like Rumble and Telegram, I understand. Just make sure you bookmark the WretchedWatchmen.com website. That's your one-stop shop to stay up to date on everything that's happening around these here parts. I don't know. You find the latest podcasts, live streams, announcements. The book, free book is there, and all that type of stuff. You'll find everything that you need to know is over there. So make sure you guys go ahead and bookmark the website. And last but not least, if you guys like to support this channel, what I got going on, I got donation links down below. CashApp, Venmo, and GiveSendGo. This channel's not monetized. I don't make anything from ads, views. I don't monetize this channel. I don't sell things. I don't do paywalls. I don't do anything. It runs solely off of your guys' donations. So thank you guys for your support and your prayers and your blessings and your gifts and donations and everything. Again, you guys are the ones that make this run, and I'm so grateful. So thank you guys for your support. I appreciate it. All right, that's all I got. Thank you guys for joining me today. Glad everything worked, even though we had a blip with the internet. I don't know what that was about. It seemed like YouTube crashed or something. I don't know. But that's it. So if the Lord does not come back by Tuesday or Saturday, today is Tuesday. By Saturday, I'm all thrown. See you guys Saturday if we're still here. All right. Bye.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.